Welcome one, welcome all to Sorrow World, the alternate dimension. And this is the Warchant.com post-game show, a victorious version of the Warchant.com post-game show. Folks, Florida State knocked off number 5 North Carolina at home, and they did so without scoring a single point in the second half. William, the founder and administrator of Warchant.com, he's in the Warchant man cave. Gene, go ahead. Your thoughts, because there's got to be a ton of them.
Yeah, I've been keeping this baby cold. It's my little Bourbon County. Gonna pop this baby open. Gonna celebrate this thing. Got the special one here. So, but you know what? I'm feeling a little crazy after this one. I think it's arguably, and you can tell me this, Tom, probably the biggest upset in Florida State history the other way, considering the team's rank, the line, everything else. And it's so nuts. I'm gonna basically give away subscriptions here for maybe till the end of the show. Who knows? FSU wins. If you're not a subscriber right now, go to warchant.com. I think there's a link at the top. If you type in that code FSU wins, you'll get a subscription, annual subscription for $20. It's usually like $100. So I'm a little nuts right now. I'm a little drunk with excitement. I'm going to get regularly drunk here shortly.
Yeah, hopefully this has been released for the first hour of the program.
Yeah. So and all that. So it's nuts. Yeah, like I said, biggest upset in Florida State history, and just everything that we didn't see for 3 games, Tom, it all came, especially that first half. We just saw a dynamic offense. It couldn't be stopped. We saw an aggressive defense was putting pressure on the quarterback. Yep. And what the person is probably the most happiest person right now has got to be Dante Lucas, because if they lose that game, he's got the worst reputation for a Florida State player probably since Marcus Sims. Blew that Georgia Tech game. I mean, it's unbelievable I was thinking, man, if they lose that game, that bonehead play he made, which lost Florida State 7 points. That could end up costing him the game. It didn't, luckily for him, but man, every FSU fan had to hold their breath for the last play.
Yeah, I mean, so many turning points in this game, but that was the number one. If North Carolina was going to come out on top, was they're moving right down the field. They're extending the momentum of that drive just before halftime, Gene, when they go up 31-7, and how expertly was that executed by Jordan Travis to get the ball down the field in the end zone to respond to North Carolina's first haymaker of the night. And then it just starts to go haywire from there. Personal fouls, penalties to put you behind the chains, missed field goals. Jordan Travis gets hurt, but it all did start with a retaliation penalty to the face mask.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we're not talking about that longing for a win that should have happened. We're talking about North Carolina dropping a couple of passes down the stretch, maybe somebody tugging at a T-shirt, and there's not a flag on the field. Whatever. Who cares? 31-28, Florida State wins this game. And Gene, for me, the number one place I'd like to start would be with the effort of the defensive line. Marvin Wilson, Corey Durden before he got thrown out of the game, Josh Kando, a pick 6 because he used film study to flash out to the flat, and cut off a quick flare route for a big score. Marvin Wilson contributing on a punt block, 1 of 2 in this game for Florida State. But for number 21, tonight was an answer. And we've been on him. Yep. We've been on that D-line week after week, and rightly so. But tonight is the night where they should feel proud because of the effort they turned in. Gene, it was exceptional.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to pop up those defensive stats? Well, I'm going to take a look at these. So interesting, too, in the beginning of the game, we saw Steven Dix got the start, which I think was a good move. Leonard Warner's time, I think, is up at Florida State. You need to go a little bit of youth movement. I thought he played well. But you're right. Look at that. Marvin Wilson, I think he had 6 tackles. He had a quarterback hurry. I thought he had a sack or something. I guess he was in several times in the backfield, disrupting plays, running guys down. Scary moment when he went down there on his face for a while, and he got back. Back a couple plays later. It was great to see. And this was the defensive line, Tom, we heard about all offseason. We heard in preseason practice. And the one thing I'll say, they had the drop passes in the second half. The offense, obviously, we can get to that later. But they still were consistently getting pressure in the backfield. They were rushing Sam Howell. They were keeping out of his comfort zone. They were making tackles for loss. They were disruptive, which is something. They had 1 tackle for loss last week at Notre Dame. What were the total tackles for loss on there? We had
8 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Yeah. There it is at the bottom.
8 tackles for loss. That's huge. That's huge. That made all the difference, and that kept them from blowing that game. As the defense. I know North Carolina scored however many touchdowns they scored in the second half, but the defense did just enough to win that game because the offense was not happening at all in the second half. And then obviously missed field goals didn't help either.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gene, how funny is it? Week 1 of the season, Florida State loses a game, close game to Georgia Tech. They give up 16 points, and you don't feel good about the defense. Tonight, they give up a bunch of scores in the second half, and yet the defense is probably the first thing that comes to mind because you see the passion, the inspiration that they play with. You saw a lot of pressures get home. Sam Howell was affected by interior pressures, exterior pressures. I thought one of the key moments of the game was late. You have a corner blitz where Asante Samuel is going to come in, and Coach Fuller runs the sideline because he saw that Howell had spied and they were calling it out. He switched it to Lars Woodby in the slot. Asante drops back, plays coverage, and they don't have their blocking lined up. And you get a snap out of that. I know that they end up hitting a pass down the field to Javonte Williams after they're in a second and long situation. But still, Gene, these are massive moments for these guys to build upon. You had to win, though, for them to count.
Yeah.
The guys to believe in the message. But I think they're going to believe after tonight. This could be a turning point for this group to be closer to where they want to be. They're never going to be the top 10 team that we're used to at Florida State in the heyday, but a big moment for these guys who've seen nothing but losses in these types of games to finally be able to finish, even if it is a little bit lucky.
Yeah, Tom, it had to start somewhere. We were wondering, we kept going. It seemed like the program was going further and further down, like when they were going to hit rock bottom. The nice thing about hitting rock bottom is then you start to come back up. Yep. And we thought maybe that second half of that Jacksonville State game, and when Jordan Travis came in, gave them that spark. Notre Dame, obviously, not great, but it was definitely better than what we've seen. It was the first time they actually were somewhat competitive against a highly ranked team in a long time. And they take another step and they go out and beat the number 5 team in the country. Now, I know you and Jeff talked about it a lot, and I totally agree. This is not the number 5 team in the country, even before them losing tonight. But they were a good, solid team, had a good quarterback, an electric offense. I mean, they're a quality opponent. And Florida State hasn't beaten a quality opponent in a long, long time, and they did that. And they really took it to them. And again, if Lucas doesn't have that penalty, this could end up being a blowout. I think at that point, it's so out of reach. And it goes, when you answer a team and do that and you come out and score in that first drive of the second half, when you got a big lead, it's show over.
Yeah, I mean, and you could look, now that you've won the game, and now that the result is where it needs to be, you can look at how many plays were made along the way to get you there. Instead of focusing on the negative, I'm talking from the coaches, because on Sundays they meet, they look at film, and they go over these plays. I mean, think about Josh Kando flashing to the outside in a 2-point conversion attempt, and he ends up deflecting the pass.
Yeah, oh yeah. Looked like he dunked that thing.
Right, exactly. You've got that play. You've got Samuel early in the game. Florida State gets off the field consecutive drives for North Carolina where they come away with no points. We expected, the way North Carolina typically starts games, when they're on script, they're going to go right down the field. The question is, would Florida State answer? But the defense sets the tone tonight and allows the offense to put Florida State up by big margins in the first half and to capture momentum. I mean, there's so many phases of the game. Well, there's only 3, but there's so many moments in all the 3 phases of the game that build together and they complement one another in the first half. Now, it about fell apart in the second half, but that's okay. This was a team that needed a result anyway. And they got the result tonight.
You can talk all you want about process, and I know that's coach's buzzwords, and they talk about you got to believe in the process. Jimbo Fisher was like that back in the day too. But at some point, you're right. For the kids, they need it. They need the win. You also need the W for, Tom? Recruiting.
Yeah.
You need to go to these kids. What the storyline is going to be on ESPN, Florida State blows a 24-point lead, biggest win in UNC history. That's the headline if UNC wins that game. Now the headline is Florida State upsets the number 5 team in the country. Mike Norvell has a team coming back. Yeah. They've got a dynamic quarterback. They've got all this. And, hey, you mentioned all 3 phases, Tom. How about that block punt?
Yeah.
Now, we unfortunately, the way they broke into that game beforehand, the Memphis game went late. And we didn't get to see that, but unfortunately they did a replay on that later, and it looked like a real nice schematically by Coach JP. From what I saw on that the short replay we got to see, and I can't wait to talk to him. I always love talking to Coach JP and figuring out kind of how they set it up, what they saw on film. But obviously they saw something, and you want to talk about right away having that huge momentum change because, boom, you block the kick. You stop on defense, you block the kick, next play, Jordan Travis, it runs it in. All 3 phases, boom, 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 you're up 7-0. All of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And the players built off of that. They started gaining confidence, and you saw what happened.
And, of course, tonight on the Warchant.com postgame show, it's all about your reactions. You're going to see your comments across the YouTube and Facebook comment sections wipe across the screen if we like them. 805-5911 is the number. That's 805-5911. The area code is 850 in case you're out of town.
There you go, Charles. See, take advantage of that. Well, I may sober up at some point and turn that special off. So glad you could join us, Charles. $20 while it lasts. FSU wins.
Yeah, so tonight was a banner night for Coach Papuchis, Gene, because the defensive ends played a lot better.
Oh yeah.
Kendo makes a big play, but you saw guys holding the edge more. They weren't perfect. They weren't perfect, but they were held a lot better. You made some big plays on special teams. Marvin Wilson has the one block, but the first one you're talking about, I did have it on ESPN2 to start, and we got back there so quickly, Gene. You almost could have just intercepted the ball from the drop from the punter's hand to his foot. But they did a good job to really just capture on that momentum right away. Jordan Travis makes plays.
Tom, don't mean to interrupt. It sounds like Norvell's getting ready to go here. I just want to make sure we're about ready to roll that. So we're going to hear in a minute here go live to Mike Norvell's post-game press conference. Then we come back, we'll start taking your phone calls, and we got the number below.
We will. Unfortunately, Gene, right now, Florida State doesn't appear that they've put it live like they typically do.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Last week they had it on their account, and right now they don't have a link to it just yet. But as soon as we get it, I certainly will put it up for everybody to consume, because this is a victorious post-game press conference. Haven't had one of those against a Power 5 opponent yet this year. Now you do. Not only that, they're a top 5 opponent. And, Gene, I agree with you. If you had all the conferences playing right now, North Carolina wouldn't be number 5 in the country. But who gives a damn? Because when it was halftime of Florida State's game tonight, I flipped over to Alabama and Georgia. And Brad Nessler, within 10 seconds of me flipping over, says, something's going on in Tallahassee tonight. These are the little things that recruits hear. And they say, what's going on in Tallahassee? Let me check. Oh, my God, Florida State's up 31-7. Looks like Norvell's getting his act together.
Yeah.
Since the dead period is going to run, Gene, and you know all about this, since the dead period is going to run through the end of the calendar year, any positive clippings you can, any moments like that, where it's in a parent's mind or a recruit's mind or a high school coach's mind, that can do leaps and bounds for you in the next year or two in the recruiting cycles.
Oh, absolutely. We saw it this last week, losing Brendan Jennings, who's headed to Michigan now. Maybe you can decommit and come back after he sees that, but it was really starting to hurt the program. And you need, you say what you want about coaches, you need the Jimmies and the Joes. And you, like you mentioned, Tom, with the dead period, they can't see these guys. They can't go out and see them in person. They can come on an unofficial kind of, but they can't really have a real official visit like they would normally. So the only way you can show your product is what we saw tonight. And it's the first time Florida State had a good product to show recruits. So you're right. Now suddenly like, oh, maybe we need to think about Florida State. It looks like they're turning things around there. So yeah, it's huge for that. And before we get to anything else, I know we've gone on long enough to talk about the heroic effort. I mean, Jordan Travis, we knew he had something the last couple of games, man, just a warrior. The kid's not the biggest kid out there, throwing his body around. You can tell his left shoulder was messed up at the end of the game. He wasn't taking himself out. The kid's a warrior. And, you know, he put that offense on his shoulders in this game without the team's number one playmaker, and it's not even close. Without Terry on the field, it's still amazing to me they put up that many points. And granted, not a great defense, that many points without Terry in the game.
Oh, 100% I agree. And you could see that early in the game. Pokey Wilson with the drop. Warren Thompson runs the wrong route on a big third down. You just miss him because guys, North Carolina could key in on the shorter passes. And eventually Jordan makes some plays and breaks away. Breaks contain, fires one down the field to Pokey Wilson where he steps out of bounds right around that 5-6 yard line. They had to review that.
I felt bad for Pokey, and then for Keyshawn's crazy catch that they overruled. The call ended up being right. At the end of the day, he was out of bounds. But, man, what an effort by that kid. But you're right.
Well, it's not breaking news that Jordan Travis makes plays. But if you look on the first touchdown run of the game, you've got a double pull action with the right guard and the right tackle. And what happens is North Carolina's defenders follow that action thinking that LaDamian Webb's going to get the ball because that's a play that Florida State runs all the time under Mike Norvell. And Jordan keeps the ball. Thankfully, a lot of people have been begging for that for weeks for Jordan to keep the ball. But he creates his own space. And before halftime, that drive is all Jordan Travis. It's scrambles. It's him extending time, finding Cam McDonald in the back of the end zone. The whole march down the field is thanks to 13 making plays that weren't initially there and weren't schemed there. And that's got to be so exciting for the guys on the roster, potential recruits to see, I might be able to play with a guy like this. And even if it's not him and it's Chubba Purdy, this is what this offense can look like. It just does so much for you, Gene. I mean, it's amazing how it comes down to a play or two. If North Carolina drop the ball down the stretch and they win it 35-31, we can't talk like we are right now, but results matter. They matter greatly, and Florida State finally got one. Still don't have Mike Norvell's press conference just yet, Gene. So
okay, we'll work on that. Yeah, I'm sorry I jumped the gun there because it wasn't live the first couple weeks, then it was live last week, and then it's not live today. So we will have it eventually because we'll load it to Warchant. We can show you from there. I know we want to try to get some reactions from some excited fans. We got time for that. Are the phone lines lighting up?
They are lighting up, Gene. They are full. So I guess we better start creating some spaces for new callers. And this is the first time that this gentleman has been on the Warchant.com postgame show, but I know that he is a frequent caller for Aslan Corey's program.
Oh, could it be?
Could it be? It might be. It is. He just heard the bell. He's Gator KIRK. It's in Virginia Beach. Gator KIRK, welcome to the program.
What's up? How you
Gator KIRK? Can we get a woohoo from Virginia Beach?
Hey, 757 represent.
You got it, buddy. Let's go.
Hey, I tell you what, man, I was a little nervous there in the second half, but we all got it done.
Yes, they did, Gator KIRK, man. It was quite the show. Yeah, everybody was chewing their nails off late in that game, but like I said to Tom, man, the defense came through. Even though they scored some points, they kept putting pressure on Sam Howell, man, and that really made the difference at the end. Yeah.
Gator KIRK sounds like Gene does when he came up with the idea for a huge discount tonight. Warchant promo code FSUWINS for a $20 annual subscription. Gene is inebriated with generosity. I think Gator KIRK might be on his way in terms of victory.
Hey, I can't blame him, man. If you're ever going to get hammered, tonight's the night, man. Enjoy it. It's been a long time since Florida State could really. When's the last time you felt like this?
Maybe the Orange Bowl against Michigan.
Yeah, it was good. That was good, but not like this because that was different. You still thought, well, Florida State's a pretty good. That was a good win. And it's the first time you felt good, I think, pretty good about a Florida State win. This, man, you got to go back to maybe the 13th season.
Yeah, because the way they started, obviously the finish in that Orange Bowl was great, but the way they started tonight, and they kept the avalanche going.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it comes to a crashing halt in the second half. And you could focus on that if you want to be a pessimist tonight. But for me, I'm going to focus on the positive. Yeah. Just the wave keeps going. They play physically. They get after the passer. Coach Fuller dials up a lot of pressures. I mean, they look like a completely different defense tonight, Gene. There were still some things that were open, but North Carolina was committing consistently to running the ball on first down, setting the tone with a run. I think it's 17-0. I looked it up. It was like 23-9 or 24-9 rush to pass. North Carolina, that game plan was nuts. If I'm a North Carolina fan, I'm saying, Longo, what the hell? Look at their linebackers. Just throw it over the middle of the field in the RPO game. But fine, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like they didn't look at film. That could work all day against Florida State.
Yeah, agreed. Alex is next on the Warchant.com postgame show. Alex is here in the bell right now, and he's going to join us from Tallahassee. Alex, what say you tonight? Welcome to the program.
Oh, man, what a win, huh?
Yeah. Woo! You got it, Alex.
That was great. So thank you guys for having me on. UNC did have a lot of yards today, and I think that was because of the DB play. But win or lose, I mean, our leadership tonight was amazing. It's the most leadership I've seen by this team in years. I mean, you have Jordan Travis and Big Marv and Kando showed a lot of leadership on that D-line. And honestly, I think Love Taylor on the offensive line showed a lot of leadership. And I think that made a huge difference in the game tonight.
There's no doubt, Alex. I mean, you can tell the culture is changing. I mean, that's why you had a lot of guys leave the program. I think they're putting guys that want to play and want to fight for them. And we went back to before talking about like a guy like Jordan Travis, because I think he's leading. He's kind of like the old Charlie Ward. He leads by example. I mean, he's putting his heart and soul on the line, making plays, getting banged up, getting back up, doing it again. And guys said, look, if he's going to do that, we all need to do that. And you're right. Then the guys, Marvin Jones feeds off of that. Kando feeds off of that. Other offensive players, offensive linemen do. So you're right. And it's something this team sorely needs. But, yeah, you're right. Looking at that sideline, you could see the energy and the leadership happening.
And from the coaching staff as well. There was clear communication when mistakes were made. Guys were pulled aside. You'd like those mistakes to stop, but it's different players making those mistakes, Gene, it seems, every time.
Well, 12 penalties, that's got to be – that almost cost you that. And that would have been the story. The loss, it would have been not just the Dante Lucas. There were several.
Yes.
Especially about half of them. I got to go back and break them down. I think half are pretty much bonehead ones.
Yeah.
Were just uncalled for.
A lot of the personal foul variety. But guys are held accountable. They're pulled out of the game. They're talked to.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that there's a presence about the sideline. It's not aimless. It's not without purpose. Do they need to get more discipline? Hell, yes, they do. But at least the coaching staff is holding these guys accountable. And, Gene, that sounds so basic, but we haven't been able to enjoy basic things in recent years with the Jimbo Fisher tenure and Willie's tenure. It's just a mess. Accountability wasn't there. The guys are still making mistakes, but they're being held accountable. Next up is a friend of ours. He's been on the program a few times. It's Austin in Washington, D.C. Austin, welcome to the program.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely.
Of course. Got to have you on for the wins and the losses. This is one to celebrate.
Of course. Gene, I just want to say real quick for everyone, happy birthday to my father, Brett Lucas. I don't know if you remember him, but he went to Florida State Law School around the time that you guys went to law school together.
I definitely. Well, I went to Stetson Law School, but that name, I think I've met him. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, so I want to just say, like, it's great to see another team choke instead of us. And I'm sitting there, like, talking to my girlfriend while I'm watching the game, and I'm like, when we're up by 10 in that fourth quarter, I'm like, we're losing this game. We're losing this game. So I want to tell her I want to give her kind of
And he's like, listen, you don't know anything. Like, I've been watching these little kids. You weren't born here. And I'm an SEC fan. I love Alabama, so I'm trying to get into the SEC. And he's like, you don't know nothing. And I'm like, they're going to win. I was like, you're like the cloud of doom. Like, they're going to win.
Yeah, anyway, we ended up winning, but that's kind of the story that I wanted to share there. But it's great to see another team choke and not us choke. That's a great first for me in the last, like, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. We talked about that earlier. It's been a long time since Florida State fans got to feel this way. Hopefully this is just the beginning of an upward surge in the program. We get more of nights like this coming up.
There's no doubt. Austin and Austin's girlfriend from Washington,
yes.
D.C. tonight. So we have our first.
Feel free to bring your wives, your girlfriends, your aunts, your uncles, your kids, your pets, whatever. They can join you on the show. It's
a memorable occasion, sadly, because Florida State, we're grasping at things. But this isn't a baby step, though, Gene. This is bigger than a baby step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Result tonight? It feels like it, at least.
Yeah, no. It's a huge. Well, we started to think we were hit rock bottom. They're working their way back up. But you're like, all right, Notre Dame, who knows? They still lost pretty decidedly. The second half, it's Jacksonville State. Mm-hmm. Okay, now you played a legit Power 5 team, a good, not a top 5 team despite the ranking, but a good Power 5 team, and you won. And for a half, you dominated the crap out of them too. So you looked really freaking good. Now, you got to start putting halves together and looking really good. There's still a lot of warts on this team. There's still some, despite the result, there's still some major holes that need to be filled through recruiting and transfers. But like the last caller said before, about the leadership is starting to show up, the culture is changing, and guys are fighting for each other now, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, the one thing, Gina, I'd say again, it sounds so crazy, but if I told you before the game tonight that Florida State was going to score exactly 0 points in the second half and they would win the game, you'd say, in what universe would that be possible? But that's exactly what we watched tonight, was an onslaught in the first half and a defense that was in a street fight in the second half, and North Carolina cashes on some drives, but they're going to. That team is going to. That offense is too talented. But FSU holds the fort in the end, and North Carolina drops the ball a couple of times. But sometimes you need breaks like that. Next up on the Warchant.com post-game show is Ben from New York, and I believe the topic tonight is special teams.
All right, Ben, my favorite subject. Bring it, Ben.
Real happy with a lot of things tonight. I think we did a lot of things right. I think accountability was there. This is the first time I recognized Florida State since 2016 at least. But my real question is, the special teams coach clearly has talent. Mm-hmm. But what's he doing starting Fitzgerald? I mean, when should we be concerned? I mean, he's missing a lot of kicks.
Yeah, well, I think tonight was the first real. I mean, he missed one before, but this was the first real red flag. I mean, he's missing chip shots in crucial situations. So they have Grodehouse there, and I would think that's going to be probably a topic conversation this week. We'll ask Mike Norvell about it, and we get to talk to Coach JP, the special teams coach, once a week as well, and we'll ask him about the kicking competition. I have a feeling that's going to be wide open because Grodehouse looked good because he kicked. Remember, Fitzgerald, I think, was out for COVID or something early in the season. He was out, and Grodehouse looked good to me, and he's got a bigger leg. So, I mean, if you're not, I mean, you see it in the NFL, guys, one bad game can lose their job. And you can't, that could have cost Florida State the game. Luckily, it did not. But, man, those are some crucial misses down the stretch for him. So I don't know if there's something technically going on. But, yeah, I would say that job's got to be wide open now.
Yeah, you make those, you're at 9 down the stretch.
Yeah.
And 9 obviously leaves us able to prep for this show a little bit more professionally rather than to sit down.
A little less stress for everybody down the stretch, too.
Man, that was every bit a 4-hour affair, though, Gene, wasn't it? I mean, all the different chapters to this game, the twists and the turns. If everybody sleeps in a little bit longer tomorrow, that are Noel fans that are locked in, I think your loved ones will forgive you, because this was just a crazy, crazy experience tonight. Next up on the Warchant.com post-game show is Josh, also in New York. We're having a run of callers from New York here. Josh is about to hear the bell. There it is. Welcome to the program, Josh. You are relieved, is that correct?
Oh my God, you guys have no clue what I feel right now. I mean, I am about 4 drinks in. I have not called a single show of Florida State since Jimbo and Gene Beckerhoff, because I would have cursed Willie out for the last 2 years. I'm feeling incredibly relieved today. I mean, the fact that this is our first Power 5 win since BC last year is incredible. That's like almost a full year of that. Now, as I'm relieved, I'm also a little upset, because we have like the personal foul all-stars. We have like when things matter the most, like Lucas and Corey Durden, who actually didn't mind Corey Durden. So I didn't mind that one. But like Marvin and like Cooper, it boggles my mind. But today is a celebratory thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy that at 31-7, I don't know what Florida State fan who has been a Florida State fan for life did not have their nerves through the roof at 31-7 and 31-15 and then 31-21. My nerves were through the roof. I'm just relieved. We can complain another day about everything else, but today I am happy, I am drinking, and I will not go to sleep until I watch the game again. Thank you all. I love Warchant. I am a subscriber, and I will be on the Tribal Council tonight explaining how happy I am.
Josh, before you go, don't hang. Did you hang up, or are you still there?
No, I'm still here.
All right, 4 drinks in. 4 drinks of what is my question? That's all I want to know.
Oh, 1,800 mixed with some cranberry juice.
Okay.
Thank you.
There you go, man. Do it right. All right. All right.
Man, that's like the Michael Imperioli commercial. 1,800 just poured me a shot. What can
That's nice. But to his point, like you talked about, Tom, the difference is now we saw these stupid penalties the last 3 years. We've seen them in almost every game, especially these big games like this. The difference is, like you're saying, there's accountability. You see a coach getting mad. You see guys getting yanked out.
Yep.
It's going to stop. It's been a bad culture for a few years. You just can't get that done overnight. All you can do is hold these guys accountable until it eventually sinks in. Keep your composure. At crucial times, you're going to cost your team a game potentially, and they can show film over and over. They can go in this game, go, look how close we were dominating this team. It was over, and look how close we almost lost the biggest game we've had in this program in 4 years because of a bunch of dumbasses doing ridiculous penalties. But he holds them accountable, which is one of the biggest criticism I had of the last era of that coaching staff. You saw players getting fights, throw swings on the sideline. Next play, they're back in the game.
Yep.
I never understood that. This coaching staff doesn't do that.
No, and there was one heated moment, and you wondered how that was going to go. And thank you, Jalen, for your contribution.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice program. It was the Robert Cooper PAT personal foul, and Coach had some words for Coop, and then it looked like he had an exchange with Marvin as well, which gets everybody's alert. You're on high alert there because of what happened in the offseason, but it looked like everything smoothed over. But there's clear communication and clear accountability, because Coach is mad at Marvin for the personal foul earlier when he shoves Howell late. And so I think he had a to say to 21. But make no mistake, this is Mike Norvell's program, and he is letting it be known. Anytime a mistake is made, anytime you do something dumb, be it Jerrion Jones a couple of weeks ago, be it Jaden Lars-Woodby at Notre Dame, be it the handful of dudes that did it tonight, they're going to be held accountable. There's no doubt about it, and that's nice. You're right, Gene. It's refreshing. We have to go to these basic places where I'm sure other fan bases are saying, really? Is that a talking point? It is for Florida State. If you haven't watched Florida State in the last few years, look at the special teams. Look at the accountability. Look at this team. They're contagious. The Jacksonville State comeback, Gene, and I know that that's crazy. We had to come back against J-State. It was as though Jordan Travis' play woke the defense up. And I think tonight you saw the defense and the offense play together a little bit. And hopefully that brings the locker room together, because there's been some divides in different phases of the football.
No doubt. And Jalen, real quick, obviously, I think we're talking about the penalties. I think that was obviously one of the most disappointing. I was in terms of the offense, I was a little disappointed in some of the play calling in the second half. I think they got overly conservative. There were a couple series they just ran, punt. And then I didn't know what was going on when Jordan had hurt his shoulder. Jay Sean goes in the wildcat, which I didn't necessarily mind when I think it was 3rd and 3 or 4.
Yep.
And then they got the penalty, and he's still back there. Like, you're going to run this. They're all knowing you're running the Wildcat, and you got 9-10 yards to go. It's not working. Take the quarterback off the field. Do what you got. Having viable play, and to just run that and then set up for a field goal on a kicker that's struggling.
Yep,
To
exactly.
do that. That was my biggest disappointment on that defense. I don't know if there's, other than the penalties, that's the only thing I would say for the defense. That's my biggest disappointment.
Well, the hard part, the technical thing there is you go right hash, and he had just sliced one and missed it wide right early.
So if they would have left it where it was, he probably would have made it.
Yeah, and well, the other thing that stinks too is when they look at the film tomorrow, and it's Devontae Love-Taylor that jumps on that 3rd and short when Corbin's in the Wildcat. They're going to score. I think they're going to score there. Corbin
looked like he had a gap.
It's all blocked up and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Like all of these, the inches, as Jimbo used to say, right? They were there. They were.
The game was at that point. You're right. That's another opportunity that the game is over right there.
Yeah, 100. You got to finish. You got to learn how to finish, not through North Carolina drops. You got to learn how to finish on your own, and that's the lesson that you can teach after a win. And that's again the critical thing I keep coming back to is after a win. But I agree with you, Gene. I thought just looking at North Carolina from their past performances, it looked like, especially out of the pistol, if you get downhill in a running game, not thinking and delaying, if you get downhill, you're going to have success. And I thought the Noles did tonight, especially out of the pistol. But when they got in that passive style of running, when they would go empty with Jordan Travis, it killed the momentum of what they were building on the ground. If I'm nitpicking, I'm looking at both offensive strategies, and I'm saying, boy, I mean, there are obvious things that you could do to take advantage of this defense that didn't happen. But again, I'm not going to try and nitpick tonight.
No, we don't. But yeah, like you said in the beginning, this is a day to focus on the positives. But I think that there's a lot of learning lessons. You brought up some good points on some of the things they did that worked and didn't work offensively. They can build off some of the obviously lack of composure things they can build on, and some of the play calling. Like I said, I didn't like some of the play calling in the second half offensively. But you're right. I think it was a great moment. And I think you mentioned, I love seeing Fuller on the sideline. You mentioned that switch of the cornerback on the blitz, and it's great when you could see the coach do it. Yeah. And then it works. And you're like, wow, that's really cool to see. He knew what was going on. He threw the quarterback off. The blitz didn't have somebody there for that player blitzing at the last minute. They did. It was beautiful.
Gene, even if it didn't work, it's just so refreshing because how many times do you see that there's a hard count in the NFL or it's the clap in college football, right? And you give away what you're going to do. They look to the sideline. The offense does. Defense doesn't do a damn thing. And they run what they were going to run, and the offense takes advantage of it. They scored on a wheel play the drive prior. Florida State was showing pressure, and he knew he had a wheel up the sideline, did Howell, and he took full advantage of it. That's the throw to the back right that puts North Carolina within a score. But Fuller is alert. I mean, tonight was a huge night for him. Tonight was a massive, massive night for Coach Fuller. Another call from New York. This gentleman's been waiting for 25 minutes, and so we'll go to him. It's Brad in New York. And he's talking quarterbacks, the backup quarterbacks, because that's the quarterback that's always the most interesting. Welcome to the program tonight, Brad. What is your question or what are your thoughts?
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Gene, for having me. So, first of all, I just want to express how happy I am that we won that game. Wasn't sure that we would. Also, I want to say that I would have my wife on, but she was not impressed with my performance tonight at all. She's
That's usually not a good sign when you say that.
Right now.
Go ahead, Brad.
So I have actually two questions, if you'll entertain them. My first question is, what did you guys? I asked this last week. What did you guys make of James Blackman warming up instead of Chubba Purdy? Tom, I know you and Jeff kind of talked about. You kind of thought that Chubba might be the number 2 this week. There's not a lot of transparency there. I just want to know what you thought of that. And then my second question is, if you could kind of diagnose and speak on the 2 punt blocks, those were awesome. I think those were, I know they happened in the first half, but I think those were kind of the plays of the game as far as momentum. If you could kind of speak to those, I'd appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Brad. On the first one, I just want to say, again, I know everybody wants to see Chubba Purdy. I just didn't see the situation to put him in. You're playing you're upsetting maybe the biggest upset in program history. They're making a huge comeback. You're going to have a true freshman. You're going to put him in that situation at the end of the game with the game on the line. I don't know, man. I know the fear of putting Blackman in there, but he has been through some things. You didn't have to put either one in. It did look like you probably should have pulled Jordan out for a few plays. He was obviously hurting, and hopefully we'll get an update. Hopefully he'll be okay for next week's Louisville game. But again, I know we get this question over and over. I just didn't see, unless I missed something, Tom, I didn't see a good time to put him in. They were clicking in the first half. You're not going to upset that. In the second half, you're trying to hold on to a game. You don't put a true freshman in there that might make a true freshman mistake.
Yeah, my guess is Brad is just referring to when Jordan gets hurt. Why is James the one who's warming up and not Chubb? But my guess on that is pretty simple. The game situation is a high leverage one, and you don't want a starry-eyed true freshman in there in that situation. You want James to be able to snap the ball and hand it off, or whatever the hell they're going to do. I doubt they're going to ask James to do a whole lot, but my guess was the situation demanded.
Yeah.
I think if it was a 20-point game either way, you might think long and hard about putting Chubba in there. And we both know it. Mike even said it. Coach Norvell said this week that Chubba got extended time with the offense. He got extended reps. And I believe from what I've heard, he's telling the truth there. As for the punt blocks, the second one with Marvin Wilson is just a great effort out of 21. Yeah. That's just an unbelievable. I mean, that man can run that fast at that size. That's the guy that we expected to see week in and week out. The first one, I won't pretend to know concepts of special teams like I've studied the offense and the defense over the years. It just looked like they saw something on film that they knew that they could overload a side, and North Carolina wouldn't have enough men to block the amount of rushers Florida State's bringing. That just looks like something they saw on tape. Typically, Gene, you know this from breakout interviews, if there's a big special teams play, typically the coach tells you that we saw something on film that we thought that we could take advantage of, and that's usually where it all comes from.
And that's what I mentioned earlier at the top of the show. I don't know if the caller missed that, but I brought that play up, the first punt block, and that was something Coach JP, John Papuchis, did schematically to overload one side. That the broadcasters mentioned something they did that North Carolina wouldn't prepare, and that's from hard work and film study. Yep. You see something on film, you see a tendency, something you do, and you realize you can take advantage of it. And that's one of the reasons why Mike Norvell's consistently had one of the top special teams consistently year after year after year, because they do spend a lot of time looking at film and getting a little edge in that part, in the third phase of the game. And it paid off. Like I said, the beginning of this game was awesome because you, again, had all three phases working in tandem. Defense gets the early stop, special teams gets a pump block, and offense scores a touchdown. And that really set the tone for the entire game right there, all three phases.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Next up on the Warchant.com postgame call-in show is Eric from High Springs. Eric is about to hear the bell right now, and he's going to join us. And it looks like he wants to declare that we got ourselves a coach. Is that correct, Eric?
Oh, it was incredible. What an incredible win. I mean, I'm just still basking in the glow of the win.
We're with you right there.
Are you basking with any type of beverage, Eric? Is there any kind of beverage that's in your hand right now? What are you celebrating with?
No comment.
That's okay. You got a question or a comment?
I just wanted to say that Norvell, just his passion and his accountability to the players. Like, you saw him really get on Wilson and coach up Wilson, and then you saw him celebrate the Helton catch. I'm just so impressed with Norvell and his coaching staff, and we're doing what they need to do. We're improving every week. I'm just 100% sold out on Norvell, and you guys just, anyway, take it from there.
You got it, Eric, man. You nailed it. I think that's all this fan base wanted went into this season. Nobody knew they were not going to compete for the ACC. Even the most insane fan almost couldn't think that was even a realistic possibility. But the one thing everyone said, you wanted to see improvement, because we hadn't seen it for 3 years. This program's been in the gutter. There was no signs of progress whatsoever. You're like, we got to have something to hold on to, some hope. I didn't think this was going to happen in 2.5 games. It was going to be this quick of a flip. And I think there's still going to be some ups and downs the rest of the season. But yeah, there's real legitimate excitement. And you're right. It starts with the coaching staff. They're doing the right things. They're holding players accountable. Like you said, I love one thing, again, I'm not really a criticism. Everybody has different coaching styles, but I think it drove the fans nuts when Willie Taggart would just be stoic all the time. There'd be a bad official call. There'd be a great play or a horrible play. And he just, whatever. I'm just here, ready to go home, whatever. So I think just seeing a coach with that kind of passion, and the fans feed off of that. So absolutely, Eric, you're right.
He looked to be in disbelief, Gene, on the final drop. He didn't know what to celebrate.
We won?
I think he was checking for flags for anything that would, qualify the play and say we're still going on. because he put his hands up in the air. He went nuts. He was right near where the drop was. It was kind of like Jimbo where Burt Reed was, except on the other side of the 50-yard line all those years ago on homecoming. And then after, he was like, okay, two hands, a big fist pump. He was feeling it. And that's a good moment too, Gene. Those are huge moments to capitalize on for recruiting. The interview right after, where he's just beaming with pride. The interview that Jordan Travis has right after the game. I think that's Molly McGrath that was on the call on the sidelines. All those moments, they add up. When you have so few opportunities to talk directly to recruits, you need to talk to them through the television. And Mike Norvell gets a chance to talk to them through the television tonight. Maurice in Ocala is up next on the Warchant.com post-game show. Maurice is about to hear the bell and join the program. Maurice, what do you think tonight? What are you enjoying? What did you see? Go ahead, Maurice. Are you there?
Maurice.
Last chance.
Oh, did he fall asleep?
I think my man might be asleep, Gene.
Or maybe he was stunned by this, Tom. James B with 100. A hunch.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we need the sound effects. Man, we need that. Tom, I think now we can afford to have the sound effects machine. James B just funded that. So, James B, next week we'll have something for you. Thank you so much. Thanks for the tip. Very generous. Yes, we're all celebrating. And that can buy us a few more drinks, Tom.
Exactly. And you can also celebrate, too, with the savings. James, you can turn that around. You just given us $100 this program for its infrastructure, for its budget, which now increases tenfold, I think, with just that one tip. But now you can save yourself. Because
Tom can drink the good stuff now, Tom. You can get rid of the Milwaukee's Best and get some good beer now.
You know, I haven't had one beverage during the post-game call-in show so far this season. Maybe tonight's the night.
I think so.
But if you want to save, use promo code FSUWINS right now at Warchant.com, because you'll get an annual subscription, which is valued at $100, actually a little bit more, for just $20. Just $20. So use that tonight. Gene's crazy for doing that.
I'm going to sober up at some point. It's going to be gone.
And while he's sobering up, we'll go to Sanders in Crystal River. Sanders in Crystal River. He's about to hear the bell, and now he is on with us. Sanders, welcome to the program.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Gene. Thank you guys for having me again. I'd like to start off by thanking number 25, the running back for North Carolina, and his hands, because without them, we're not where we are right now.
Yep.
Man, that whole game it kind of felt to me like the 2018 Miami game, and I was just sitting there waiting for it, and it didn't come. We get to celebrate a victory, thank the Lord. And I also wanted to thank Gene for the FSUWINS promotion. I am now a Warchant subscriber for the first time. At the username Bjorn Warner Schnitzel, so look out for me.
Great name.
That's an awesome name, Sanders. That's already in the top 10% of the members at Warchant.com. Good choice, Sanders. It's a good night to do it.
Yeah, welcome aboard, Sanders. We appreciate that. Everybody is basking in the glow, and that was great. It's great for fans. I mean, this poor fan base, the last 3 years, what they've had to go through, and you're just hanging on to the end of that thing. I think we've seen Florida State lose so many of those games where they've been the one that dropped the pass. I'm thinking Jamar Forson. I'm thinking of that play against Miami, speaking of Miami games. Yeah. There were so many that they've lost, and they've been on the other end of that, and this time they were not. Oh, one thing I want to bring up before you get another caller, Tim, because a lot of people mention it in social media. It's just that, I know you mentioned I think it was, which DB was it that pulled the shirt there at the end? And I know that was one of them. Was that Dotson?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, too, how many out-of-bounds tackles on Florida State players that none of them were called? I don't think I've seen as many tackles out of bounds.
Yep. There was
blatantly late hits out of bounds that were not called. So, if any North Carolina fan wants to say, oh, you got that break in that call, like, oh, give me a break, buddy.
Yeah, I think the face mask / semi-tackle of Corbin along the sidelines when Florida State's down their own territory, that's a game changer. That's a game changer of a call that could be made, probably should be made, and was not made. And then Travis also got hit as he was airborne going out of bounds and driven into the North Carolina sidelines. And that was one of the few times this evening that he came up and he was feeling it a little bit. It seems like the officials in certain moments, Gene, are all too happy and all too willing to grab the hanky and throw it. And then in others, they just completely forget. Yeah. But hey, listen.
It's the ACC, but we've been here before. It's not like we're talking about something we've never discussed before. Oh, by the way, Tom, are you ready for it?
What's that? Oh my goodness, Andy.
Andy.
There you go.
Woo! We can definitely afford some sound effects now.
Yes. We'll find some better ones than me trying to mimic what Aslan has together. We play the Ric Flair Woo on the Warchant.com and the ESPN Tallahassee pregame show. We'll have to find something for this here postgame show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Andy. Very generous of you, and
you folks
very much appreciate it.
Man, oh man, you're feeling the victory, and so is Gene with the Warchant code, and so is Roger. And Alabama.
My God!
What are we
doing? Another one.
I was going over.
Starvin 197, another $100.
93 alum. Well, I mean, you are rich in spirit, sir. If you're a 93 alum, I'm an 09 alum. I was lost decade, so hopefully we're going back to the
93 is a great year, Sarvin.
Right now we're more like 09, not 93, but hopefully we get back to 93 soon. Roger in Athens, Alabama is next. He's got a question, I do believe, about recruiting. Roger, welcome to the program.
Appreciate it. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Just want to say go Noles, and I've been a long-time Warchant.com subscriber. You may recognize my ID as FSU Bunch 5. I've been there for about, 98, 97, I guess. So long time. But just great win, but this win makes me think of one thing. I don't know, I got a name for you, Lamont Green.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I bring that up is because I believe Bobby Bowden had just won the 93 championship, and the very next morning he's on the recruiting trail, and he is at Lamont Green's house, which was a highly talented defensive back or linebacker, I believe.
Linebacker.
And Lamont Green tells me this story while he's in a Walmart there on Pensacola Street, or a Publix. I'm sorry, it was a Publix there on Pensacola Street. And he said the main reason he came, he was just so in awe that Bobby had just won a national championship game. And the very next day, he is at the game or at his house, begging him to come to FSU. So I just want to say this was a great win, but we're never going to beat the Clemsons and all that if we don't get on the recruiting trail and get some of these blue chippers away from Clemson, away from Alabama, away from everybody that's in front of us, because I think we're ranked like number 30 in the country right now. So just wanted to get your take on recruiting and see maybe what this might do for us. If we've got any kids leaning toward us that you guys know that, I don't know, or what do y'all think we're going to finish at the end of the year? My dream would be top 15, but I would take top 25.
Yeah.
But I'll let you guys answer.
No, you're right. We talked about that earlier, that, the coaches, Mike Norvell and the staff needed something positive to sell on the recruiting tail. So far, they haven't had that. And they can't go there in person and talk to him because of the limitations right now, the dead period that's been extended to the end of the year. So this is absolutely huge for that. In terms of some of the recruiting stuff, I can tell you a couple things. I know Michael Langston, if you're a Warchant subscriber, he'll do recruit reaction. So I'm sure he's working the Tritosphere, the phone calls, the texts, and right now getting reactions from some recruits. So you should have that by tomorrow. You'll see some of that on Warchant. And then he'll do his live call-in show on Wednesday. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of reaction and kind of what the buzz is happening in recruiting. I don't want to even try to guess at this point, but you're absolutely right. It should be huge for Florida State and for recruiting to do this because they need something to sell. Tom talked about before. Mike Norvell, his passion on the sideline, not beating North Carolina is obviously big, but hit the passion, seeing him in person, man, this guy is going to war. He's into it. He's behind his players. When they do wrong, he's going to pull them aside. He's going to get on them. When they do good, he's going to celebrate with them. That is something that will resonate with recruits. So finally, Florida State has something to sell. So yes, it will affect recruiting. I can't speculate, maybe they crack top 20, but who knows? There's so many dynamics till the final signing day.
So, Gene, I don't have the slogan down. Just is it break the rock? What is the slogan?
I think it's break the rock. So we'll. I would think it'd be Travis, but maybe give it to somebody on defense. I don't know who you would
give it to. Marvin. This is an opportunity to have to get him.
That's true. The defense did. Yeah, you're probably right. Jordan, he broke the first one, right? Yeah, he did the Jacksonville State. So I would agree with you. I think Marvin should be the guy to do it. There's
another opportunity too. He put together a nice video. They did it for the J-State one. This one will get more retweets, I think, because it's North Carolina and not Jacksonville State. But there's an opportunity for the social media team to go to work and get the message out to recruit, see how much fun it is. Because I'll bet there'll be more people around this rock. It was kind of a sparse crowd the last time we did Brook Rock, but I'll bet there'll be more on this occasion. Gene, out of curiosity, just do you hear anything about this with recruiting since Roger brought it up? Is there any talk at all about the early signing period being lifted and then moving it to normal signing day?
I have not heard that, which is crazy to me. It makes absolutely no sense. You go an entire recruiting cycle where the kids can't even interact with their coaches. It's ridiculous. It's horrible. It's the NCAA being bonehead idiots that they usually are, and they're not thinking of the players. They're not thinking of the schools. They're not thinking of the student athletes. I don't get it. And maybe I'm saying all this, and then next week they'll come out and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, we should move." But why wouldn't? As soon as you extended that deadline to the end of the year, the dead period, you don't have a signing period in December. It makes no sense. These kids still have another 6-8 months to sign. It's not like you have to have. They did it for 50 years, having a signing day in February. This has only been a few years they've had in December, so there's no problem moving it. Have the early one in February and a late one in in April.
Yeah, the crazy thing to me too, Gene, is the way the schedule is laid out this year. You'll have regular season games being played in all likelihood while the early signing period happens. So,
because everything's extended. It makes sense. I do think, Tom, the video might be up, so we might want to for Mike Norvell. So before we take any phone calls, and by the way, just a lot of generous people. There's a lot of people flying with donations. We're trying to take calls and talk about this stuff. So we're very thankful for everybody who tipped us. It means a lot to us. So it's very generous. And again, if you're not a Warchant subscriber, Tom, what can they do? They can FSU wins right for now. I'm going to sober up eventually. I'm going to turn that off because I can't keep this going or I'm going to go broke. But it's $20 if you use FSU wins to sign up for a whole year subscription, $100 value. So let's I think Tom has them queued up. We've seen Mike Norvell after a lot of losses, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what is he going to say after a big win like this.
Me too. This is on the Warchant YouTube or Warchant TV YouTube page. If you catch some of this and you want more later, you want to go back and hear him again. But Mike Norvell's thoughts post game. Bear with me as I get the sound levels ready to go. But here are his thoughts after tonight's win over North Carolina.
Well, just to start off, we're so very proud of our football team. We talked to them all week about just continuing to prepare, to continuing to push. There's been plenty of adversity that has shown up throughout this year, throughout the course of the early part of the season. But these guys, they believe in what we're doing, and coming off of last week, we saw moments, we saw flashes, we saw a team that was playing harder, really trying to work to play together. And this week we challenged throughout the course of the week is that we needed to see that consistency show up. And I thought this was our best week of preparation. Obviously, to go out there against a top 5 opponent, I thought we started incredibly fast. Our guys had tremendous energy, really, fueling off of each other, both sides of the ball. And then how about special teams showing up big? 2 block punts. I thought really, set the set the standard of how we wanted to play and how aggressive we wanted to be. Obviously, going into halftime. Just continue to talk to you guys. We knew a run was coming. That was good. That was something that when you're playing a good team, that they're going to make plays, and we just wanted to make sure that we stay focused on the one play that was in front of us. We still have a long way to go. Still have a lot of mistakes that showed up. Some things that we got to show poise and control in every situation. I thought we had some foolish things there in the second half that we're going to get cleaned up. But it went down to the last play, and our guys are giving everything that they have. And I'm so honored to have the opportunity to coach this group and to see the response that they have, because it's been challenging. It's been challenging in every aspect. And they just continue to respond. And really proud of those guys, and to see that reaction, see them in the locker room, the celebrations. That was pretty special. And so, with that, I'll go ahead and take questions.
Has there been any time, after the Miami loss, that you wondered whether or not these guys were totally bought in, or have you known it from the beginning?
Well, the best way you can see buy-in is by response, and we push our guys in practice. We push them in meetings. From in everything that we do, we want them to be the best version of themselves. And we're still growing. We're still learning. We're still adapting to the expectations and the standard of what we're going to require in all aspects. And that's where I know they're buying in, because I see their response. So obviously we're not perfect. We still make mistakes. We're a work in progress. But when you get a chance to see growth, when you see improvement, when you see investment, this isn't for everybody. We've had some guys that have chose other things. The guys that are here are continuing to work, and they're continuing to try to be the best version of themselves in all aspects of their lives, and that's what tonight's about. And that is truly what you do it for. And to see the joy that was on their face, and just knowing how hard that they have been pushing to be able to get that opportunity, it was pretty special.
Mike, with that in mind, can you walk us through when the game ends, like walking onto the field, having the Powerade bath, getting guys coming up hugging, and then going into the locker room too? Just what that's like for you as a coach to see that all kind of unfold in that moment.
There's really no words for it. It's so special because since December 8th, the first time I walked into that meeting room with my team and this group, it's been every moment. We've tried to grow and improve, just believing in what was coming. And at the end of the day, I tell our guys, the ultimate objective with every opportunity you get is just try to go out and be the best you. And to see their celebrations, to see the joy, to know that with stacked against all odds. There's not many people I don't think gave us a chance tonight, but they didn't worry about what other people thought of them. They didn't think about any of the limitations that they could be put out in front of them. They just went out and played their game. And like I said, there's still a lot of things that we're going to continue to clean up and continue to grow in. But tonight was about these guys. It was their moment, and they definitely deserved the victory for how they prepared and how they responded to all that they're asked to do. Next will be Andrew Adelson from ESPN.
Mike, it had been so long since this team found a way to win a game in the fourth quarter. What do you think a win like this, knowing that they were able to hold on for a win in the fourth, can just do for the confidence of this team moving forward?
It means everything. I think that we're going to be able to learn a lot from the film that we get to watch tomorrow. And, obviously the experience that we have, but these guys finished. And that's something that is so critical. It's one of the core values of our program and what we want to be. We want to be a group that's known as finishers. We want to finish academically. We want to finish, in every aspect of what's in front of us. And that's where the constant push, the constant challenge, and everybody feels it. When you get a sense of momentum swinging one way or the other, you've got to truly rely on your training. And that's why I called the entire team up in the fourth quarter. And you kind of had a smile on my face and said, guys, this is where you rely on what you do. I go, at the end, I can't tell you what this fourth quarter is going to look like, but you go out there and you play the next play. You give everything that you have. You maximize your effort in this opportunity, and they did that. And we found a way to be one play better. And once again, so proud of them. And I think it's going to be monumental for us to continue to grow and build off of this example. Next will be KIRK from Tallahassee Democrat.
You talked this week, I think, about needing more from the defensive line. I mean, I would say you got it tonight with how consistently you were able to pressure St. Hal. Just your pride in what that unit was able to accomplish.
Well, I mean, I thought the defense responded incredibly. We were down. I mean, the number of guys that were not available tonight, and some guys that got banged up within the course of the game. I mean, that was hard. I mean, that was what you saw on that field was guys that just made the choice and gave all. And I grabbed the defensive backs, the defensive line, linebacker. I talked to them specifically as groups after that game because I know the challenge that was presented. And there's been a lot of talk about what we haven't done up until this point of the season, but tonight we needed them to show up big, and boy, did they ever. And, from Josh Kando's interception return for a touchdown, pressure on the quarterback, I mean, that is a dang good offense we just faced. And that's one of the best offenses in the country, and our guys just continued to rise to the challenge. And, the plays that they made some incredible plays. We didn't let that distract us to the next one. And, I was just so proud of the defensive front, forcing unit, and obviously those guys in the back end because, man, they were – and that was challenging with some of the personnel situations that arose throughout the course of the game.
Hey, Mike, congrats. You talk about how things, momentum can be shifting. What did you see from your defense kind of heading out on that final drive when things were definitely seeming to shift?
I mean, they had confident eyes. They understood that all it takes is one play, and you saw that with the we created a couple of negative. There on the final drive. I mean, you have to give them credit. They made a couple of incredible catches there within the moment on that drive. But our guys, you see it in their eyes, you see it in their response, you see it in their body language, and they were ready for the next one. That's all they were focused on, trying to finish to the best of their ability. And they put us in a great position to win that game, and they finished the job.
Coach, just how important was Jordan Travis's sort of, I don't know, his guttiness, his gamemanship to go out there and kind of suck it up, and his, the fact that he got banged up, did that affect how you guys were able to utilize him in the second half later on?
It's a little bit challenging there. I think Jordan is an incredible competitor. He made some unbelievable plays tonight. And, we got limited a little bit, later in the game. We're trying to be smart just in what all we were asking him to do. But he led this offense. And, I think there's a great deal of confidence in the job that he does. And obviously, how he was able to extend some plays tonight, what he did as a runner. Decisions. One of the things that's going to go unseen is some of the things that he did in the check game. I mean, he really embraced the package that we put together for this game, and I thought did an extraordinary job. Being able to manage the different situations, and like I said, it was a little bit limited there, late in the game, but he is a warrior, and I'm so proud of him and the performance that he had as well.
Hey, Coach. Just the beginning of this game, especially the ability to build off of plays. You've talked about building off of momentum and building off of plays. Kind of the quick start for you guys. How important was that, and kind of building that momentum in the first half?
I mean, it was big, and that's why we knew we were going to be aggressive on our punt pressure unit. I thought Coach JP, we put together a great plan. Our kids believed in it. We knew that there was going to be an opportunity to change the game, within that portion unit, and we did. And with 2 block punts, I mean that was huge. And then you even look through the course of the first half. I thought it was critical after they went down and scored the 2-minute drive. To be able to go down and put the ball in the end zone right before the half, I mean that was something that was pretty special for our football team, and gave us great momentum going into halftime, knowing that we'd get the ball, and like I said, there's some things in the second half that we're going to have to clean up and continue to grow from, but they answered the call. You look at that last 2-minute drive. That's one that I'll remember for a long time. Thanks. We'll go back to Ira from Warchant.
What went into Dennis Briggs deciding to opt back in, and obviously that was really important tonight on that when you were so limited up front?
Well, been talking to Dennis, throughout his decision. Absolutely respected his decision and the process of when he opted out, and we spoke throughout. We talked to him probably about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, just kind of checking in to see where he was. I know that defensive coaches and have been staying in touch, and Dennis said that this was something that he was thinking about, and obviously we were without a couple of guys on the defensive front coming into this week, and so we talked to him Sunday night, and we talked to his family, and he made the choice. And at the end of the day, that's what was so impressive to see that he made a choice. He actually had to go through all the testing protocols to be available to play, and to do what he did tonight, I mean, that was definitely pretty impressive. And, especially whenever Corey went out, we had some other guys that were playing a lot of snaps, and Dennis provided a great boost for this team, and we're obviously glad that he made the choice. I was comfortable with the choice to come, and be a part of what we're doing here this season, and excited about his growth here moving forward.
Coach, something that you've preached has been that next play mentality. And tonight, I mean, you saw it from the defense multiple times. You saw it from Jordan on his interception and rallying from there. What do you think that kind of reflects their growth and what they're what you all are trying to do?
We said coming into the game, whatever it takes. And we need 60 minutes together. We need 60 minutes having each other's back. And, there's things that you'll look back at that game and say, well, this should have been done better. This could have been done better. All of that's real. Well, I mean, that's a part of life. That's a part of playing this game. But when you know that you have somebody that's there to support you, when you know that there's somebody there that if you stumble, if you fall, that you've got teammates, you've got brothers that are going to pick you up and help push you forward. That's what this team is being built upon. And to see the celebration, to see the hugs, to see just the joy that they had doing it together. That's the greatest thing about the game of football. And obviously, I'm honored to coach this group, and they definitely had each other and our coaching staffs back tonight in the way that they played.
Mike, earlier in the week, you said that the production would come for Marvin Wilson if he just kept at it, and it came today. What clicked for him in your mind? And then for him to maybe not have the season he's been wanting to have, to play this hard, to put that much energy into this game, how rewarding was that to see?
It's great. Marvin is a tremendous player. Obviously, we needed him to show up big today, and he's just continuing to work. And that's something that give credit to him, is that it's not always about a stat line. It's not always about all those things. I mean, there's people that are game planning for him. There's things that that he's experiencing. Obviously. Throughout the early part of this season, but tonight, in those key moments, I thought he showed up, at a very high level, and he's no different than anybody else on this team. That to play the level that you're capable of, you just got to continue to believe in the preparation. And Marvin, he embraces that. He is a extremely hard worker, and I think that showed up tonight in a big time moment.
Well, Gene, there he was. That was Mike Norvell reminiscing on the huge win, the huge upset win that was tonight. Florida State 31, number 5, North Carolina 28. Florida State does not score a single point in the second half, and it doesn't matter. The Noles come away with a huge win, and you could see it in his eyes. You could hear it in his voice. That is one fired up head coach, isn't it?
And he should be. I mean, this is his big moment at Florida State. This is why he came to Florida State, to play in a game like this and win and beat a highly ranked opponent, and hear the war chant, hear the marching chiefs, hear the screaming fans. It's a big moment for Mike Norvell, and he absolutely needs to suck it. I still think you could tell he was trying to stay calm and like, I'm going to be the same guy in a win or a loss, but you just see around him, man, there was the excitement was tingling. And speaking of that, Tom, we talked about earlier who was going to get to break the rock. Do you want to end the suspense with the video to show who is actually going to break the rock? Oh, it is. Speaking of Mike Norvell, look at this. Let's watch this, guys. Thanks to this is FSU on their Florida State on their Twitter feed, had this courtesy of them, and we're going to get to watch Mike Norvell break the rock for Florida State's
20-second
win
video.
over
Enjoy,
North
folks.
Carolina.
Hi. There you go. All right.
Well, he hit it several times, man. Do you remember the Jordan Travis one? Did he hit it more than once?
I think it was just one time. Yeah.
Man, Norvell's like, no way, Tar Heels, man. I'm taking you down.
He knew that the Warchant.com postgame show had a buffering issue. And so, you know what? I'm going to give you your money's worth. Here's 3 swings. Well, next up on the Warchant.com postgame show, somebody's been waiting patiently through that entire press conference. We thank you for doing so. Dante in Madison, Alabama. I understand that you are also a former player. Dante, welcome to the program tonight. And what are your thoughts on this big-time win for Florida State tonight?
Thank you, gentlemen. Just awesome to just talk to you guys. With me being here in Alabama, you are my connection to FSU. But one thing I want to stress to all the fans and make them understand is that we have finally a coach that represents accountability. And what we've missed for years now is that. I remember John Easton was my receivers coach, and a lot of you older guys will remember.
I know Dr. John Easton, absolutely great coach.
Against Duke. And when we came out of the game, he was like, you have to catch every pass that's thrown to you. If it touches your hand and you don't catch it, just come to the sideline. That's what he told every receiver. That's accountability. We finally have a coach, and if you notice, it starts with him. Coach Bowden coached his coaches. He established it, and he coaches coaches. But anytime anybody makes a mistake, it's normal in his face. So he's setting it from the top to the bottom, and that is huge. I mean, I can't. I'm just so happy with this win tonight because again, he set the tone, and I really expected it, to be honest, because I've never seen a Florida State team get better over 3 games like we've done. We got massacred in Miami, won a game at Jacksonville State that we would not have won with the old regime. We would have lost that. We're competitive against Notre Dame. And then we win this game. And let's be honest, North Carolina, nobody, that doesn't strike fear in you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're still North Carolina, and this is a game that a Florida State talented team with a good coach could win, and he did what he's supposed to do. I mean, this is awesome. We are on the way. He's got a lot of Bowden tendencies because he sets the tone. If everybody's paying attention, he is setting the tone. And for him to crack the rock, the player didn't crack it. The players and the coaches said, you crack it. Because it starts with him, man. And that's how you build a program. Everybody look at me and follow what I'm doing. And that's the Bowden way, man. And I'm not comparing him to Coach Bowden, but I did play for Coach Bowden. And that's how he would do it. You know, he would draw up a play. Coach Eason would come in and say, okay, here's X do this, Z do this. And he would say, Dante, why does this play have to work? And you know what the response was? Because that's Coach Bowden's play. And that's the type program that Norville is building. Those kids believe in him, and they play for him, and now we got something.
Yeah, you nailed it, Dante. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's the thing. That's what this team was lacking. You need that leadership, and it starts at the top. And obviously, you're right. That's a good point about why he's the one that broke the rock tonight. And oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about for the younger people, I recommend a book called St. Bobby and the Barbarians. And there's a lot of stuff in there about Dr. John Eason. I remember him talking about that. If the ball hits your hands, you're out. So you're absolutely right. And you learned a lot about him and some of the great coaches Bobby Bowden had through the years. And I really appreciate your perspective, Dante. And I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. It starts with a coach, and we're seeing it. Frankly, we're seeing it faster than I thought it was going to happen. Now, I think the fans need to realize there are going to be some bumps in the road along the way because there's still some gaps in personnel, and there's still a lot of things are working out. But you're right. This is exciting if you're an FSU fan to see this kind of progress happen this fast.
Well, and you can see it too, not just on the offensive side of the ball. I know that's where Dante played, but defensively tonight, Akeem Dent got roasted in a few situations to get him out of the game. Dotson gives up a couple of plays down the field. They're rotating guys in and out, Gene. We talked about this last week when it was the Notre Dame storyline and how some of the linebackers weren't cutting it after the first drive. Remember when Warner and Rice got tied up on the first touchdown, the drag concept, tight end? Well, guess what happened? DJ Lundy checked in on the next drive. And then you saw Steven Dix out there. And tonight, Dix Jr. started for Florida State. So this coaching staff is not messing around. Now, you might get back in the game because the other guy screws up, but they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep rotating and play this game of carousel until they find somebody who wants to go out there and make a play. And that is encouraging because you don't have to worry about playing favorites. Remember all those years when we had younger receivers for Jimbo that were much taller, much more athletic, like an Auden Tate maybe, and you'd see Kermit Whitfield and Bobo Wilson week out, roll out there, and they'd make mistake after mistake. The accountability was not there. That's not the case anymore. With this group, there is much, much more accountability, and that's just.
You mean it's based on performance? What are you talking about, Tom?
Aptitude.
Oh, okay. So it's like a real world concept. Your performance is rewarded. How about that?
Yeah, like
and you screw up, you get benched. Yeah,
just like the rest of us. Right? Yes. If I don't do well on the Warchant.com post-game show, I'm going to have to do stuff that Aslan doesn't want to do, and Aslan will be in this chair. That's how that works. Pierce in Lakeland, Florida. Pierce in Lakeland, Florida is next on the Warchant.com call-in show. Pierce, welcome to the program. What are your thoughts tonight?
Man, stoked about the win, man. I'm so happy for this team right now. The growth of the last 3 games, it's just amazing to see. I mean, after getting trounced by Miami as a diehard Nole and with friends that are diehard Canes, it was a tough couple weeks, really, especially after the almost debacle of Jacksonville State in the first half. Man, I'm just stoked about the offensive line. I got a question for Gene. What did he see with the D line? I mean, these first 4 weeks, the D line couldn't get any pressure up front. I mean, the guys were almost looked lackadaisical, and they were almost getting. I mean, they were getting dominated, even by Jacksonville State getting dominated. They come out tonight and look like world beaters.
Well, Pierce, I mean, I wrote about that last week. To me, that was all the things that happened at the beginning of the season. That was the biggest surprise to me. You had these guys coming back that were NFL, I mean, elite NFL prospects, defensive tackles, and they're getting pushed around by guys that are, FCS players, as you mentioned, in Jacksonville State. It was the biggest stunning thing. And even we go by the Pro Football Focus analytics, where Corey Durden and Marvin Wilson are consistently rated in the 90s, and they're scoring in the 50s. And when they're seniors, it made absolutely no sense. I still don't know to this day if there was some hurt. I heard from somebody that maybe Marvin was a little banged up on some minor stuff, but I really think it has to do with, to me, my guess on this, and I don't know for sure. Maybe someday we'll find out. Remember, they went from a 4-3 to a 3 scheme, and now they're back to this. I just think it seemed like they were almost trying to figure out where to go.
Yep.
They were thinking, not reacting. And I think it's one of those things that's starting to click now. They go, okay, I understand what to do now. I'm just going to react. I'm going to see my assignment. I'm going to go do it and make a play. Where before that little half a second at this level of college football is everything. And you get that half a second back, and then your athleticism and strength takes over, and you see what happens. That's my theory on. I don't know if we're going to get a 100% answer on why they went from being elite to being bad, and then suddenly tonight they look elite again.
Yeah, I think it's a combo of things. You're looking across the country at college football, and we did this last week at the end of the show, Gene, where we looked at the scores, the final scores. Like, where is all the output coming from on offense?
Yeah,
I think they're getting up to speed. I think everybody across the board is not in game shape, and I don't mean like they're not able to run, the laps they need to, or they need to do the drills they need to. I'm just talking about tackling. I'm talking about football speed, getting to where they need to be. Defenses across the country are finally starting to catch up. So that's one. Number two, they got rewarded early tonight. They saw the fruits of their labor. And you take a look at it. Last week, they had one tackle for loss the entire game, Gene. And only one defensive lineman, Corey Durden, was the only defensive lineman to turn in more than one tackle in that game. But you look at the graphic we have right now. Marvin Wilson had 6 tackles tonight. Janarius had 3 with a pick 6. Janarius had 3. Kando had 3 with a pick 6.
And what he said, a great read on that too. And again, we go back to, this is where coaching comes in film study. Like you said on that play, I think it's fair to say probably the last coaching staff, that play doesn't happen.
No, that's shades of Bjorn Werner kind of stuff. Because Bjorn would always flash to the flat like that. But Kando with a key play there. And, I mean, you even look. So Corey Durden has a half sack and a half tackle for loss for 1 total tackle. He has a half a football. I mean, the defensive line, they were more present tonight. It's not like they didn't get gashed by the run a little bit, because they certainly did.
Yeah.
There were moments where both Williams and Carter were able to break through and turn in some huge runs. But if it was to the perimeter with Carter, they did a good job of flocking to the football. If it was a 3rd and long, they did a good job of creating havoc and twisting. I think it's just a combo of a lot of things. But you could see it. There was positive reinforcement for the defense tonight. They were starting to eat a little bit. And then once you start to get those results, and you have the crowd behind you, I think for 19,000, Gene, that sounded quite loud on TV to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Between the marching chiefs having the full band and the 19,000 in the stands, that was a pretty loud atmosphere.
They did great. Yeah, I was not there. We only sent a couple people into the press box, and Ira and Corey get that privilege. So I got to sit back and suffer here in the man cave and watch it on TV. So it's rough for me. I don't know if you can pull up the general stats, Tom. I want to point out something else, just the overall stats.
Sure.
Something that really struck me, and I know this is something that Jimbo Fish used to praise all the time, and I know Mike Norvell's talked about a lot, and that is practicing situational football. And right here, you remember early in the year what was happening on 3rd down?
Mm-hmm.
They were getting gashed on 3rd down plays. And that was a huge thing in this game. Look at that. 2 out of 11 on 3rd downs for North Carolina and 0 of 3 on 4th downs. How about some of those 4th down stops? And that is situational football. Like you mentioned, they ran well. They made some big plays. But when it came down to crucial situations, man, they made the stops. And that's going to win you a lot of games. When you win those 3rd downs more often than not, defensively, you're gonna really, and that was the difference in the game.
One of them was poor design by North Carolina. They go, it looks like it's going to be a sneak up the middle, right? When they go into that little full house thing, I'd burn whatever that formation is if I'm North Carolina. Nothing worked out of that all night, but it looks like it's going to be a house sneak. And so what happens is Cooper gets in there and he just dives.
Oh, yeah.
Line of scrimmage because he thinks it's going to be a sneak, and they call a traditional run right behind it. Well, Cooper's trying to do one thing, but it ends up, benefiting Florida State the other way. And there's no chance for Williams to convert in that 4th and 1. But yes, 2 of 14 in 3rd or 4th down situations tonight for North Carolina.
Unbelievable. I heard something in the broadcast also I never thought I'd hear to switch to the other side. I don't know if you heard this, and they said Bavion Johnson is road grading people. He's all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually hearing that. But that was the same thing. You're right. On both sides of the ball, we saw some interior play was the offensive line. Again, I'm trying to tell people, Coach Atkins is doing, you talk about some of these coaches turning things around. What about the job Coach Atkins is doing on that offensive line? It's unbelievable. This is arguably the worst offensive line in college football. They're still not great, but for what he's been able to do in the short period of time in a COVID year, it's amazing.
Yeah, look at that. You got 6.7 average yards per run for Florida State. You've got almost 8 yards of play, and that's with a couple of real big negative plays mixed in there. But it's the combination of Jordan Travis being able to get out of trouble and getting you into 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 7 instead of 2nd and 14. And then it is the truth that Alex Atkins is developing the hell out of this offensive line. And Darius Washington didn't play tonight. So Love Taylor did have to play left tackle. If they could get Washington healthy and be able to play Love Taylor at one of the guard positions, the line gets even.
Yeah, and I thought he was supposed to be back this week. I guess they're giving him another week to get over, but he should be good to go by Louisville from everything I hear.
Well, that's great news because then the offensive line only gets better because your interior push gets more stout. Next up on the Warchant.com postgame show is Austin in Winter Haven. It says in the note here that he is freaking happy. I think we all agree with that.
Woo!
Welcome to the program.
Hey guys, what's up, man?
How you doing tonight?
Says it all. I'm
you
just
happy?
Happy,
you happy, Austin?
It's so crazy.
When did you realize that? When did you allow yourself to believe, Austin? Did you have to wait for flags to be thrown on the 4th down play? When did you allow yourself to realize that this is actually the collapse is not going to happen? That there is no extra choke it doke, Florida State style. That this thing was to the good guys.
When it hit 0. That's
spoken like a true Florida State fan that's been through everything the last few years.
Exactly. My wife, she Snapchat me. I almost literally had a heart attack. Like I was jumping around as soon as they won. When that 4th quarter came, when that 4th down play came down, she Snapchat me. I was like, "Thank God, Mac Brown made the decision not to go for the tie, and decided to try to go for it. Thank you, Mac Brown, for not doing that." That was pretty much it. Thank you, Gene, for the $20 subscription. I took that within the first 5 minutes you offered it. Hell yeah.
All right, Austin, welcome aboard, buddy. You're lucky you got in there because I'm sobering up. I'm turning that thing off.
I got, as soon as you said, I might turn it off. I said, no, I'm going ahead and take care of that deal. Went ahead and took care of that in the first 5 minutes of this show. I'm drinking Yingling to celebrate the win.
Cheers.
I mean, there's a lot to clean up on, but there's so much to build on. I don't know if you remember, but I called in last week and said the same thing, that we were leading Notre Dame. Twice. We were leading Notre Dame twice in the first half, and they built on it, and hopefully we can keep building on it. And we're not, like you said, we're not going to, win anything major this year, but you can build on it to recruit great, to make it to next year. And it's so good to see a good Florida State win. I've watched Florida State for a long time, man, and I haven't seen a win like this since 2014, Notre Dame, Florida State in Doak. I was there. It was amazing. I couldn't speak for the next 3 days. And, yeah, go Florida State.
We always appreciate Austin's positivity.
Yes.
It's rewarded tonight. And even though Yingling is like the Wake Forest of beers, unless they want to sponsor us, of course, at that point.
Well, yeah, then I have to switch. I will suffer. I've had a Yingling or two in my day if I have to.
But he doesn't sound like he's going to go to sleep till about 4 o'clock this morning. And listen, I don't blame him. I might join him. This is one of those wins that's going to keep you up. You're going to want to rewatch it, mostly the first half, of course, and then maybe the final couple of plays. But our next guest tonight is not on the phone lines. He's sitting in his humble abode in the GA, just north of the ATL. Corey Clark is on the program now. Corey, what's good, man?
Oh, he's got the Ultra. Speaking of, we go Yingling to Mick Ultra.
Well, yeah, if Yingling is the Wake Forest of beers, what is Ultra? Clemson?
It's probably
That's a Jacksonville State of beers.
Okay, yeah, Clemson's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty remarkable. What a win! And I was just doing the wrap with Ira, and we were kind of discussing, if Dante Lucas doesn't do, I still can't quite get over that. Like I'm still too mad about that even after a win, because I think they were going to rout them if he doesn't do that. I think the game is a wrap after that. But that happened. And what is actually better for this program? The beating North Carolina 52-10 or whatever it would have been, 52-26, are holding on in the fourth quarter when everybody in the stadium, everybody watching it, everybody in that press box, and you guys at your houses thought they were going to lose. What do you think is better for the program? Because I think you could make an argument that the latter is better, that they finally found, and I know you can say they dropped some passes, but they also got pressured a ton. And they did make some plays on defense.
Yeah.
And I do think that might be something you lean on and say, look, you're not snake bitten. You can win these games. The football gods aren't against you. And you can win close games. Now just go do more of it.
No, that's a good point. I think everybody's ulcers would have preferred to win 45-10 or whatever the score might have been had Dante Lucas not had the bonehead play. And to me, I brought this up early, Corey. Would that have been the biggest bonehead play by a player? Would if you have gone down the memory of in the likes of a Marcus Sims, Georgia Tech, would Dante Lucas been in that category that you don't want to? But that would have been. I circled that. I'm taking notes. I circled it. They go, that's the play. If they come back and win, everybody's going to point to that play. But we talked about this a lot during the show. I don't know how much you saw it, but holding players accountable. You saw him immediately get on those players, whether it was Lucas, whether it was Marvin Jones, Robert Cooper, holding them accountability. I mean, and pulling guys out of games and starting a guy like Steven Dix. The performance matters. I mean, is that really what we're seeing here? That change order because he's making players accountable, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it to take hold a little sooner. The 12 penalties and the 4 or 5 personal fouls are a little too much for my taste. But Robert Cooper. Robert Cooper had a personal foul on the PAT, right? Well, he was pushing a dude. The dude slipped off, and he happened to go into the kicker. I didn't have a problem with that. And that didn't even matter because it was a touchback anyway. And then Marvin Wilson's, too, was a 1-yard penalty. The Durden one was bad luck, I thought. You can't lower your head, but that was bad luck. The Lucas one, it's just unfathomable. Like, what is that guy doing to you physically that you're threatened? And you didn't get your money's worth. You're just slapping a helmet. That didn't know, and it was like a throwaway slap. Yes, I don't think it would have been Marcus Sims level because Florida State still had plenty of other chances to put that game away and win it. Marcus Sims was basically just don't cough it up there and you win the game. Now, and it's a whole different one. But overall, I thought the offense was really good for a half. And then, but they were great on the first drive. They're about to go up again, a terrible penalty. And then the second drive, they get the ball at the 7. They have a really bad play on first down after the fourth down stop. And then Keyshawn Helton is 2 inches from making the catch of his life. He just happens to land on the kid's ankle instead of it. That's just bad luck.
Yep.
And then they had a couple of bad luck scenarios. Ja'Kai Douglas just drops a ball that not only stops the clock, but puts him behind the chains. They had some false starts that put him behind the chains. But I don't want to overlook that Jordan Travis is the real deal, man.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, and that's always going to be the caveat with him, he's changed the program. Like, he's changed everything. Those runs he had on that last drive that they missed the field goal that should have put the game away, that's big time stuff, man. That's a player going out and making plays to win a game. It didn't end up mattering because the defense had to come on at the end, but man, I think that's something you feel really upbeat about moving forward. This isn't a guy that's just a front runner. Like, he was great when it was 31-7, but when the pressure's on, he throws the bad pick and then he melts down. No, after the bad pick, instead of melting down, he leads a 7-minute drive that gets them to the 20. And if they don't get the false start on 3rd and 3, they wildcat it maybe into the end zone.
Yeah, and a hurt player doing that too. You can tell him he was fighting through it all the way. Hey, Corey, to me, the biggest shocking thing about this thing to me was the other side of the ball on defense. Because you had a team that goes against Notre Dame, 1 tackle for loss, did absolutely 0 pressure on Ian Book the whole game, and they turn around, they had 8 tackles for loss, 3 or 4 sacks, 4 sacks in the game, and they were constantly they were pestering a mobile quarterback. Could have been more than that if he's not that mobile. What in the world? How does a defensive front, pull a 180 when we've seen nothing from them? Now they look like what we thought they were preseason.
Well, I'm just going to call it the Dennis Briggs factor. I think that's all you can attribute it to. That's the only difference. Like, literally, Fabian Lovett wasn't there, and Dennis Briggs all of a sudden he's I guess well rested.
Like he had 6 weeks off. He felt fresh. That's a crazy scenario, by the way, that he just opted in one week. It's like, I'm playing. And he played like 30 plays probably. I mean, he was heavy into the rotation. But J-Rob and Kendo played well. They played. I mean, that's what it is. Marvin Wilson, by the way, was Marvin Wilson finally. We saw what he is. And that's, again, a difference maker. And then Kendo and Robinson coming off the edge, actually making plays. And I don't know, I think you guys did see the post game with Kendo talking about how he'd been beaten on that play 2 or 3 times and recognized it, thought that it was coming. Yeah, so he recognized it, saw that it was coming. He had told a coach on the sideline, this is what I'm going to do if I see that look again. So he's supposed to rush towards Howell. He didn't. He went with the running back. Just diagnose it on his own, like this is where that ball's going. I'm gonna go cover the running back. And he's like, the quarterback threw it right to me. He didn't even say Howell. He's like, the quarterback, whatever his name is, threw it right to me. I caught it and I ran into the end zone. That's an experienced player making an experienced play, but they just looked completely different up front. I don't think Fuller, and look, they still gave up 560 yards, but a lot of those were great plays by North Carolina. Like some of you just got to tip your cap, man. Howell made some great throws, and they made a couple of ridiculous catches. But overall, that defensive line looked like the line we thought we'd see all year.
Well, and if you think about it too, Corey, just the way that game played out, you have the punt blocks, the pick six. I mean, early into the third quarter, the time of possession is so heavily skewed toward North Carolina. They've got 30 minutes of possession with a full quarter to go. You have to forgive the defense too a little bit late. And they said it on the broadcast that Mac Brown's scout was you hit them with body blows, they're going to cave late. Well, that group was on the field forever and a day. 20 minutes in the first half, 30 minutes by the end of the third quarter, and they still held up. That's why, like, the Georgia Tech game was 16 points for the Yellow Jackets, and we still felt disappointed in the way the defense played. Today's the opposite. They scored 28. They go for 558. The yards per play is really healthy. It's 6.9 yards per play for North Carolina, and yet the defense is probably the star of the night, isn't it?
Yeah, and you talk about those body blows. Think about North Carolina's last couple of drives. They thought they'd be able to run it. They're like, okay, we're going to spread them out, and we're going to be able to hit them up the middle like we did at the beginning of the game. And none of those runs, well, I mean, maybe they had a 7 or 8 yarder here or there, but none of those runs gashed Florida State. And they actually got some tackles for loss on the last drive. They had a big tackle for loss out of bounds, and they also had a sack. Yeah, I do think, and they had the 4th down stop to start the second half. They even breaking up the 2-point conversion. And I thought the biggest stand, other than the last one, was after the Travis interception. To get a quick 3 and out, Marvin Wilson makes a great play in the backfield, and then the kid misses the field goal. That's a huge stand for that defense. And I just thought the defense, look, you still got some issues at linebacker. We get it. It is what it is. Steven Dix got torched a couple times. But he's a freshman, and that's a really good offense, a good coordinator, and a really good quarterback. And they do that to people. But by and large, I thought the defense played as physical and as aggressive as they have. I don't know, man. I feel like, I know it's hard to say with 560 yards, but probably since the 17 season, right, that we've seen a defensive effort like that. Because you're right, they were on the field a ton, and they still made plays at the end when it absolutely mattered.
Yeah, get ready for a defensive struggle because 12-7 was the final in South Bend today, buddy. So that
how about that score, by the way?
Woo! That's something. Hey, Carl, I want to ask you about the offensive line, and we talked about Coach Atkins a little bit earlier, just the turnaround of that offensive line. 6.7 yards per rush. You know, some of that is Jordan Travis running around being Jordan Travis, but still, the progress of those guys. We heard the commentator, I don't know if you caught that during the game, talking about how Bavion Johnson is road grading people, which I never thought I'd hear that happen in my lifetime. So just what you saw today of that offensive line.
Yeah, but it's not all Jordan Travis. There are plenty of runs where they're getting positive yards where Travis wasn't even a threat to run the ball. And on the Wildcat, I'm telling you, on that 3rd and 3 Wildcat with Corbin, I know they false started, but they were getting a push on that play. Yeah. And I know I'm not trying to bring in the negative. I'm just saying that you see the push. You see them starting to wear people down a little bit. And I never thought I'd see the day. They ran for like 250 yards against the top 5 team. Mm-hmm. LaDamian Webb, by the way, is the truth.
Yeah.
He is the real deal. That guy's got to get more touches. Toafili, I think you got to sprinkle in a little more. At all, he didn't play at all, but Webb is the truth, man. That guy is awesome. But I think that offensive line and what Atkins has done. I mean, how many sacks did Travis get sacked? He got sacked like once or twice. And North Carolina probably had, I don't know, 5 tackles for loss.
One sack, 5 tackles for loss. Yes.
I mean, that's not a ton. And we can say, oh, North Carolina gave up 45 points to Virginia Tech last week. Their defense isn't great. Well, the defense only gave up 280 yards in that game. It was a goofy game if you watched. I'm sure none of you watched it, but if you saw the highlights, it was a goofy game. It's not a terrible defense. And Travis made them look like a high school team in the first half and the first drive of the second half. And so did the offensive line. I think moving forward, you've got to be so impressed with what our man Atkins has done. And you've just got to be impressed with what Norvell has done, considering where it was 3 weeks ago to where it is now. Mm-hmm. And then you start extrapolating it like, okay, if he's made that much progress in 3 weeks, what's it going to look like in 3 years with his own guys?
Well, yeah, imagine when you get some talented players in there. You get some recruits in there.
Yeah, on offense, they're guys that he's recruited, that he's identified. These are the guys I want as a part of my program instead of the guys he had to take over.
And it was without Terry. That's the thing that just blows me away out of this. And I'll have to eat some crow because I thought there was no chance. As soon as Terry went out, I'm like, the slight chance they had to win this because I figured he'd have to have a couple big plays offensively to keep them in the game. For them to pull this off without your best offensive players, it's even more impressive.
Yeah, and I think so. They finished with 31, and I'm going to keep it like the Notre Dame game where they had 28, but they really should have had 35. Yeah. Florida State should have scored 40 points in that game easily. The Lucas play, the missed field goals, a couple of bad breaks, but if you throw Terry into the mix, I mean, you're scoring 45 points in that game. And I just want to give a shout out real quick to Pokey Wilson had a drop. Keyshawn Helton had a false start. Cam McDonald had a false start. Warren Thompson stopped running a route on a third down play in the first half. All those dudes later in the game made plays. Keyshawn Helton made a great catch on a ball that was underthrown. Pokey Wilson, that throw by Jordan, by the way, rolling to his right, leading him left to the field side. That's a great play. But it was good to see other guys step up, not named Tamari and Terry. They're not Tamari and Terry, but they still made big-time plays when it mattered.
Yep. And last thing I want to close you out with it, and I know the special teams, obviously the kicking is a problem, and a couple people asked about that. I'm guessing that Grodhouse might have a shot. They might have to change something up there. But how about that first, dialing it up, Coach JP overloading that first pump block, because we talked about all three phases. You had the defense get the stop, special teams gets the block, offense goes and scores. Boom, you're up 7-0. Suddenly, that got them going from the beginning. So the role of special teams, we knew Mike Norvell had the reputation. Again, it came through early in the game.
Yeah, that's a big time play when it mattered. And then Marvin Wilson, that's just effort. Yeah. I mean, that's a guy. I think he went through 2 or 3 blockers and just stuck his big old paw out there and made it. But that first block is a great play. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the first touchdown, because I just want everybody to go back to the Georgia Tech game and imagine running that zone read with James Blackman at quarterback. What happens there?
Why do you have to bring that up, Corey? Come on.
Because it changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed everything. All of a sudden, Dillingham and Norvell look like geniuses, or maybe not geniuses, that might be too strong, but very good play callers, because they got a guy that can read it, diagnose it, pull it, and then make 2 guys miss and slip through a little crack and get a 23-yard touchdown. 3 weeks ago, that would have been a 5-yard loss. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're up 7-0. I mean, it just changes everything. But yeah, special teams was great. They won the special teams battle, even when you missed 2 field goals, because they missed 2 field goals, right? Or at least one.
They missed one.
Yep. Yeah, and that was a big one. So yeah, you won the special teams battle. The defense, I mean, as much as they gave up, I just thought I was really, really impressed with what they did. Those last couple drives, it was North Carolina dudes just making plays. Akeem Dent, you got to go make a play, man. But I don't want to focus on the negative. Yeah. They played really, really well. Asante was great. Marvin was great. And J-Rob and Kando. That's what you were expecting when the season started, or hoping for anyway.
Yeah. So, Corey, what are you writing up for us? And what can we got a lot of new subscribers. I don't know if you heard I went a little nuts.
I did see that, man.
$20.
I feel like we should have had a meeting before you made an executive decision like that.
Yeah, maybe I need to go in and turn that off as soon as the show's over. So you got a couple more minutes before I wise up and get that off. I feel like one of those used car salesmen. I'm insane. Deal. Yeah. But anyway, for all those new subscribers that are taking advantage of that $20 deal, Corey, what are they gonna read from you? What are you gonna write about for us?
Yeah, just about the win, and probably focusing on you got to experience both highs of a win. You got to experience blowing a team out, and then trust me, as a Falcons fan, seeing it all cave. Oh, for that matter, a Braves fan.
I was going to say Braves. They're about at that verge right now.
And seeing it all cave, knowing it's inevitable, and then still finding a way to win that game. Just it's got. And I heard Austin talking before I joined about how happy he was, and it's like you know what? Gosh darn it, you guys deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
It has been too long since you got to celebrate a win like this. And it's been too long since the players have never gotten really to celebrate a win like this. So that's basically like revel in this and know or expect, at least hope that this guy is as good as we think he is. Because when you look at what they were like 3 weeks ago and what they look like now, and you're like, "Who boy, what could they look like in a couple of years? If the rate of growth is going to be this quick, what's it going to look like 2 years from now?"
Good stuff, Corey, man. I look forward to reading that on warchant.com. Keep up the great work, buddy.
I love everyone.
Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you, Brave. Good luck to him tomorrow.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
So, all right, we got time for a couple more calls. I know we're going to go a little later tonight, but we're coming up on 1:30 a.m. in the Eastern time there, Tom. But you know what? It's a special night. You don't beat a number 5 ranked team very often, especially when you're not ranked and you're not even close to being ranked. So it's a special night. We'll go a little longer. I know there's still, I assume, people waiting on the phone. Right?
No, there are, and I'm very thankful because I'm good with going later. My Bucks are playing at 4:25 tomorrow, so it's all good. Like if it was the 1 o'clock kick, that'd be but 4:25, no problem. So we go to Chris in Perry. Chris in Perry, thank you for waiting for as long as you have. Welcome to the program. Your thoughts, sir?
No problem, guys. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, yeah, right. So super stoked, and I could go on about how great the pass rush was and how it was like back in the day and everything. But I want to talk about Webb, man. He got wrapped up by that defensive tackle and just said nope and took off and got a proverbial touchdown had it not been pulled back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, applaud him. And then I also want to say, hey, guys, when I asked last week about the non-scholarship player, what was that, Preston Daniels?
And look, he had a big play early in the game.
Yeah, so, as a non-scholarship player myself in college, I kind of have a special place in my heart. And do you think that's the kind of guy that at the end of the year he gets that, coveted scholarship?
Well, I hope so because, the fact that he's come up to basically be the number 2 tight end on this team, says a lot of what he's been able to do. And that was great to see. You could see a little bit when he got out in the open field. It wasn't exactly fleet of foot, but still it was a great moment. You could see the teammates were reveling and him making that big play. And that's part of it, man, to get everybody in the team involved. Everybody feeds off of those kind of things. So it was huge for the team to see that. Great moment. Absolutely.
Great play design, too. I watched the offense.
Oh, great fake. And Jordan did, I'm sorry, but Jordan did a great job selling that thing. I thought he was taking off running when he did that.
So, well, the formation said so. The personnel said so. Everything about it. And I watched the offensive line, Gene. So I had the 2 TVs down here. One of them had Skycam, so I could see. It's almost like you get a replay. Like when we're in the press box, you could see the replay up. And I was worried that the offensive line might have been too far down field, and maybe you get a flag on that. As a Florida State fan in an ACC game, you've always got to worry about a flag taking something back.
Oh, really? I've never noticed that, Tom.
Yeah. But Maury Smith was only about 1.5 yards clear of the line of scrimmage. So great discipline on the offensive part. And then that play is going to be there. The way that Florida State runs this offense, it's I thought Blackledge said it correct tonight. It's like a triple option. Actually, we said this on this program a few weeks ago. Jordan can run, the running back can run, or he can just pop it to the perimeter any time he wants for a bubble look. So if you keep the defensive eyes right near you, backfield for the running back, for Jordan or to the perimeter, that means that something's going to be open down the field. You just got to be able to hit those guys. And that's the knack that Jordan has. And we've just got to enjoy it every week because he comes up lame once a game. So while he's healthy, enjoy what you're watching because
man, if he could learn to slide, but a lot of it he's fighting for a first down a lot of times. So you're kind of like, I'm torn. Like I want you to slide, but man, I really want you to get that first down too. So I get it, and he's competitive. So you want him, you love that about him, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. I just wonder how long he's going to hold up physically.
Yeah, that first touchdown that Corey's talking about, right off the punt block. That's all him. He's got to create the space. He's got to find room, and then he's got to have the burst, and he has all those things. But it's also the drive before halftime. You don't have any timeouts. It's scramble rules. He's wise enough to get out of bounds when he needs to. He hits open receivers, creates time. That's 100% 13. It's not the play call. It's just when you have playmakers, they go and they make plays. Next up on the Warchant.com postgame show. Happy Sunday morning to you, Mike. Welcome to the program.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you fine, Mike.
That's great. Hey, well, anyway, I've got well, first of all, I'm super, super proud of the team and the way they grinded and hung in there. And pulled it out. And I know Seminole Nation, we're all super proud of these guys, and we're excited they won. And, we're finally, able to just have a week where we can just be proud and get ready for this next game. But anyway, I want to make a comment about Norvell and about something that really no one is really talked about. It's just something that I've observed from him. And it actually happens whenever a player gets hurt. Whenever we have a guy go down, whether it's a backup lineman or one of the just other non-marquee players, he always goes out there to check on him. But if you look around the country, you only see the coaches really going out there to check on their players if it's one of the stars. But I just really respect that about Norvell, that he cares about every player on the team. And like it shows. I mean, like, he wants them to be good. That's why he gets in their faces. But most importantly, he cares about these kids' health, because ultimately they're his players and it's his team, and he wants to look out for everybody and not just go out there, if Terry is hurt or Asante is hurt. But he's out there for the backup O lineman, the backup D lineman, and guys we don't really hear that much. But he cares about these guys. And no one really talks about that, but it's just an observation I made. He checks on these boys, and I respect that about him a lot.
That's a good point, Mike. And I noticed that you're right a couple times. I go, man, like Norvell, every time a guy's hurt, he's out there. And I think that's part of it. I mean, that's part of building that culture. It's part of building that trust, because he did not get, we've talked about this before. Mike Norvell and the staff did not get the offseason. There were new coaches. They just met the guys. They did the offseason and conditioning program, got 3 spring practices in. And then the pandemic hit, and they were shut off from having any interaction, at least one-on-one interaction with players, for months. So really, to build those relationships wasn't there. So it's a two-way street. The players have to trust the coaches. They got to trust the players. But those are the kind of little things that you pointed out there that will begin to build that. The fact they go, you know what, he really does care about us. He's there when a guy gets hurt. He's there for us. When I've got a problem in the classroom or something happens to me off the field, and the coaching staff's there for us. It works its way through. And I'll tell you how it also works in recruiting, because when recruits come on campus, who does the recruiting, the best recruiting? It's not the coaches. It's not the fans, the boosters. It's the other players. And they say, hey, these coaches got our backs. That resonates with the recruits, and that's how you get good recruits.
Yeah, that's one thing. The video that we played on Twitter earlier of Mike Norvell breaking the rock tonight, and it's a cool video. It's 20 seconds. You see the players all surround Mike after he takes his 5 swings or whatever it is at the rock, and they're all going nuts for him. Well, if they've got more footage of that, they need to release more footage of that, because you've got to have that presented to recruits that can't get here on campus for official visits. They can't see the coaches. If they come here to Tallahassee, they're touring on their own. At least that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So you've got to get that message out and the word out that, listen, it's going to be hard to play here, and Norvell says it all the time. It's going to be really hard to play for me, but it's going to be rewarding. It's good that the guys got the reward tonight, because, Gene, if it was 35-31 North Carolina and we were on the postgame show, first of all, the postgame show would have been over a half an hour ago. Secondly, you wonder about the veterans, and do they stick around, and do they stay engaged mentally? But once you get the result, I know it's only 19,000 fans, but as many fans as could be in the stands, you get that feeling you want it again. And so when they hit the plane for next week's game against Louisville, they're going to get off the plane believing that they can and believing that they should. And we as Noel fans probably feel that way too. Don't you expect to win the Louisville game a hell of a lot more now than you did, say, 4.5, 5 hours ago? I do.
And that's a good point Corey brought up about how it probably means more to hold on to this instead of Dante Lucas. And I firmly believe he doesn't commit that penalty going to get the touchdown that's going to end up being a blowout win.
Yep.
It may mean more in the long run to hold on a game that you almost let slip away.
Yeah.
Because you fought through adversity together and you came out victorious. And like you said, the result, at some point you need some results. They got that result, and it wasn't easy to get that result. So sometimes fighting to get that, to reach your goal, means more than just falling in and reaching your goal easily. So I think that could go a long way to helping them.
Yeah, 100%. To the last few callers we go on the warchant.com call-in show. Benjamin's out in Colorado. It's not quite.
Ooh, Colorado.
It's not
3. Is it almost 3 there?
It's the other way. So he's still Saturday.
That's right. Yeah.
He's still rocking.
I've been drinking too much. I don't know my time zones anymore.
I hope I'm the same way.
Hey, that's all good, guys.
Go ahead, Benjamin. What say you tonight?
Hey, look, I'm an FSU fan. Like, I grew up in Orlando, Florida. I've always been an FSU fan. Even when I had heart surgery in Chance, 5 years old. I can send you medical documents if you doubt it. But, man, what a win. Gene, you have a program I love, I respect. You, Ira, Corey, Aslan. I'm not familiar with this guy on the left too much. But
this is the call of the night, Benjamin. Love it.
Pay him for that. What is this defense we saw tonight? And where did they come from? All I can ask, I know Jordan Travis, and I'm a Dog Willie Taggart and his fandom and his fans, but this defense, I gotta give the game ball to the defense because, and I've been dogging for, I will admit, so all the fans can hate me for that, but I will dog Fuller for being prevent/zone defense. But I've seen a lot of men tonight, and I'm loving it. But where did this defense come from? Is it Dix plus certain secondaries like Dotson plus? I didn't see Hamza tonight.
Nope, Hamza did not dress. He didn't play.
Off the team. What are you drinking tonight?
What am I? I'm drinking a Bourbon County.
What haven't you had tonight, Benjamin? What haven't you had?
Well, let's see. 12-year Glen Moray, I've had that.
Nice.
But a lot of Sam Adams.
Did you go seasonal or standard Sam Adams? You go a little Oktoberfest?
Yes.
It's my man, Benjamin.
All right. Benjamin from Colorado. That's where Knoll fans are right now in Happyville, US.
Oh, thank you, Benjamin. That was good. We kind of hard to understand. Benjamin Happyville. I like that. Thank you. Yeah. Well done, Tom.
Well,
but yeah, the defense, exactly. I think that is probably the biggest theme for this whole thing. And I know this score looks like they put up a lot of yards, a lot of points in the game, but still, from what you saw the last few weeks, where this defense come from, to me, that's the story of this game. I mean, you effectively shut them down in the first half almost completely. And for a defensive line that we saw nothing out of the first few games, is suddenly they looked all the bit that dominating defensive line we thought they were going to be all year. So yeah, to see Marvin Wilson, to see Janarius Robinson, to see Kane Doe, make all those plays, the pick six, the breaking up on the 2-point play to get pressure on the quarterback consistently, all those things we thought was going to happen, they're finally happening. It took them a few games, and like you said, Tom, maybe it's just a function of not having a real off season.
Yeah, I think that might be part of it. But, I mean, when you have 8 times as many tackles for loss this week as you did against Notre Dame, that's not hard math because we only had 1 last week. And you have 4 sacks tonight. You saw it. Hal was affected by the pressure. It was it forced errant throws. It forced spikes. It forced the scheme that North Carolina could have taken advantage of tonight to me, and this is something I said a while back, but if you look at Florida State's linebackers and how they don't play the RPO and how you can just pass right behind their heads because their depth is all off, they get fooled. North Carolina didn't go to that at all tonight, which was crazy. Mm-hmm. What they wanted to do was establish the run. They thought they could run all over us the way that Notre Dame.
Saw the Notre Dame film. Notre Dame ran the trap and got 50 yards a pop every time they did it.
Exactly, but you know what? Florida State answered the bell in that regard that they didn't give up 50-yard plays or 30-yard plays. It'd be 6 or 7. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we did great against a lot of those looks. But it wasn't the splash play. It wasn't the game changer. And North Carolina didn't really go to it, looking at the middle of the field at all in the passing game until they were desperate. And that's where the equity of cashing in the red zone, of getting up as big as Florida State was in the first half, did pay dividends. Last couple of calls tonight on the Warchant.com postgame show. Scott out in Oregon. All right, Scott, how you feeling tonight? What's your question, sir?
You guys can hear me?
I can.
We got you, Scott.
Cool. So, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, UNC has been, getting pretty good at recruiting, and Florida State has not. So how do you think this win factors into that?
Well, yeah, Scott, we talked about it earlier. I think it's huge because this, like we talked about with COVID, the recruiting, it's been a dead period almost the entire year. So this staff has not had a chance to meet the players in person. So the only thing you can do is sell a product on the field, which hasn't looked very good until the last couple of weeks. So now recruits watch this game and they're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, Florida State, Mike Norvell's turning things around. They're getting after people. They're scoring points. They got a dynamic quarterback. You see it, the other callers brought up, you got a coach that looks like he's enthusiastic. He cares about his players. Maybe I need to rethink things. So it's going to be a long process, but I think this starts opening the doors for maybe some new recruits, and it solidifies your status with guys like Luke Altmaier, who's a Elite 11 quarterback, retweeted something else. Like, he talked about the process. It's going to work out with Mike Norvell, and he retweeted it. Goes, see, I told you that was going to happen. So you're solidifying your stance with current commitments, and you're maybe opening some more doors. And I need to build on this. I need to keep playing well, but I think this is what you need. You need to sell that product, and you're finally starting to do that.
Yeah, agreed. When you can't make these meetings happen in person, you've got to have the results speak for themselves. I think Florida State would be catching up faster, obviously, if kids could be on campus in official capacities, Gene. I echo all that in lieu of what they're not able to do right now, the best thing you could do is just win the games. And at that point, maybe some kids text some of the current players and ask them what's going on. Current roster, as you just said before, they can be the arms of the organization to tell people to get on board, to jump on board. Because I'll tell you what, a lot more Noles fans tonight are on board with this program than they were about 7 hours ago, just judging by the eyeballs on this show right now, the responses in the comments section, the phone calls that are inebriated and otherwise and happy.
Hey, we love it, man. They're happy though.
I would be right there with you if I didn't have to do.
Benjamin, we love it, man. That's fine. Terry, screen call. If you got one more Benjamin, let them in. We love hearing from them. Happy drunk people.
So we've got a couple more, Gene.
All right, yeah, we got to wrap it up at some point.
These are our last two. So last two that are in the queue, you're the last two for tonight. Prince in New Jersey. We're going to Prince in New Jersey. Welcome to the show. How's it going tonight?
Oh, thank you for having me, Tom, Gene. I'm just happy, man. We got that W. We needed that W, and I'm just happy about it, guys.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Any other observations, Prince?
Not much, man. Honestly, I'm just really stoked how we played. Again, like I said earlier, I had called in a couple weeks back. I said if the offense plays well, it will spark the defense. That Kendo interception, I almost threw my phone. I was watching the game from my phone. I almost threw my phone across the room. I was excited, man. Like it was insane. It was insane to see us playing a brand of football that we play, a style of football that we play, that swagger, that moving to the ball. I mean, there was still a few penalties, a few bowhead stuff that kind of threw us off track. Kind of got dicey in the second half without us, really pushing the ball the way we should have, like the way we did in the first half. But I mean, it doesn't matter. When you have a football game, it's find a way to win. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. And we did that. And, I'm not going to hold you guys up too long. It's been a little bit late. I just want to say that, we're going to do it. We're going to work our way back. I know we can. Norvell definitely has a great plan. I was one at first. I was a bit skeptical, but I doubled back. I thought about how there really was no spring practice. There was really no time for him to acclimate himself to the players, know who's who can be trusted, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, hey man, we're watching it blossom in front of us, and I can only imagine what's going to happen this coming spring and this coming football season when we get some more recruits in, some more guys that want to really play for Florida State and play our style of ball. I just can't wait. Honestly, can't. I'm very happy. Again, I'm happy that we didn't lose to North Carolina. That's important. That's never a team that you should just be losing to. I mean, here at Florida State, at least, that's with football. And I just want to, end my call with letting Sam Howell know, hey man, never go against the grade, brother. All right.
You got that right.
You had it.
Hey, Prince, I'm glad you didn't break your phone, dude. You're going to need that.
Yeah. For more of these calls after victories on the Warchant.com postgame show. Prince right in the middle there as he was getting going about spring camp and next fall camp. He should be somebody that works for the boosters to get donations from Florida State boosters or prospective alumni who need to spend some dollars, maybe work in the season ticket office. But that's what we all feel right now. We all feel pretty fired up. Our final caller, Gene, is coming from the West Coast where it's still Saturday night. It's Pete. Oh. He's out in California. Pete, welcome to the Warchant.com call-in show. What say you, sir?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
Awesome.
Pete.
Just pumped.
Yeah.
Listen, I wanted to make some observations on culture. Just, it's easy to say they dropped a couple passes at the end. That was going to be like a win no matter what, but we're not there. I mean, rewind back to the beginning of the season. This was something we would have considered a coin flip game. when we thought we were something, we found out later that we weren't. But now that we know who we are, we're not there at the end of that game. We're not available for those opportunities unless this culture takes hold, right? Or not.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's what Coach Norvell's been trying to do, is switch the culture. I mean, but that's a tough job when the team's been mired in a bad culture for 3 years. And like we've talked about, not having that off season was huge. So we're starting to see that week by week, game by game with these guys. And there's still going to be a lot of bumps in the road along the way. But the fact that we're seeing real progress and guys buying in and fighting and doing what they did in this game, the process will eventually pay off, and you'll start to see the results. And we saw that tonight.
Yeah, there could be another 50-50 game here in the near future, maybe even next week, Gene, that Florida State can come out on top. But if you see market improvement in different areas every week, that means that the development is taking hold, that in practice and in meetings, players are paying attention and they're following the lead of their head coach. At some point, this program is going to be one that can be led by the players themselves. They're policing themselves like Telvin Smith and LaMarcus Joyner used to do. But for now, it's got to be Mike Norvell leading the way. And tonight's a huge night for him on so many fronts. Recruiting, boosters, ticket sales, merchandise, eyes on the TV next Saturday. Florida State and Louisville kick off at noon, meaning the Warchant.com postgame show is going to be around happy hour time, not late night time.
Ooh, what that's going to be like.
But how many more Soul fans are going to watch that game because of what they saw tonight? Yeah. Thousands and thousands of them. That's the impact that a result like this. I'm now legally the guy on the left.
So you think that's going to take now? You are just who? I don't know who the guy on the left is. That was fantastic.
That's the best.
I think we need to put that under your name. We'll just do the guy on the left.
I will. I'll do that next week. And Benjamin, we rib you because we love you.
We do. We're with you, brother.
I'm there with you in spirit, and I will be after I have a few spirits after this Warchant.com postgame show wraps up here in just a moment. But Gene, final thoughts tonight on what was a roller coaster ride way to an upset win.
No, it was exactly like, I think you nailed it, Tom, when you said sometimes you have to have results, because we hear all the coach speak about process, and they needed that. And I think the players can buy into it. Recruits can buy into it. Even the coaches, they have to somehow doubt. You have to believe Mike Norvell, because he was an offensive coordinator at Arizona State, fine, but he was a head coach in Memphis. It was not a major program going. It's like he had to be having some internal doubts. Am I up for this? When he's seeing, them getting blown up by Miami, that ugly game down there. I guess he saw it from his living room, not the sideline. In the first half of that, Jacksonville State, maybe this game is too big for me. Maybe all the things that worked for me there didn't, but he had confidence in himself. He kept going with the process, and now we're starting to see the results. So it's a beautiful thing. This is an exciting time because Florida State hit rock bottom, and we're really seeing tangible signs that they are, in fact, getting out of that. They are improving, and we saw, I think, I never expected in 3 games to go from losing badly to Jacksonville State to being the number 5 team in the country.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later. And again, I get it. They're not really the number 5 team in the country, but let's just say a quality FBS opponent you beat, which is saying a lot for this team right now. So it's a very exciting time to be at Florida State to see this.
Yeah, you're potentially down 3 scores to Jacksonville State because they have the ball up 2 scores. And now you're here. And we were a little bit, I'm sure there were some Noel fans like, why do these guys sound so happy after the Notre Dame result? Because it looked different.
We saw it, yeah.
Yeah, it looked different. And this game, the first half, again, looks different. Now if they learn how to finish, now you're cooking with gas, and you might actually, you're not going to beat Clemson or anything like that, but, you're going to win.
What happens if they do, Tom? What kind of show are we going to have?
Gene, I'll chug something on.
We need to just chug liquor or do something crazy if that happens. So.
We will. It's time for the angry man voice right now as I hit the end.
Oh man, the evil Tom. See, I'm ready to go all night, guys. I'm with you. I'm a man of the people, but look what he's doing.
Yeah.
You're going to end it on us. Man, we're having such a great time. But no, all good things have to come to an end. But Florida State football does not. We're not even to midseason yet. We got plenty of games left, plenty of post-game shows. And I may wake up, Tom, one more time. Do we need to run that special? Because I think I'm going to wake up in the morning and turn this thing off, probably. Okay. I'm going to have to.
So for those of you watching right now, and then what do you think? Mid-morning? Like if somebody watches this at 8 a.m.?
Who knows?
Okay. All right.
I'm going to finish this bottle off, so I may sleep in for a while tomorrow.
There you go.
I don't know.
Right. So if
you might have till, I don't know, 3:00 in the afternoon.
If you're doing your Sunday crossword and you're listening to the Warchant.com postgame show on demand, there you go. There's your promo code FSUWINS. And remember, as always, folks, hit the subscribe button right underneath Gene right there. If you haven't already, hit the like button on this video, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you're notified when Warchant TV goes live with features like this. Wake Up Warchant's weekly live show, the recruiting chat, all the stuff, the happy hour. I mean, there are so many things that Warchant brings to you on YouTube, but then use the code to get the premium stuff as well. The 3-2-1's coming up, Corey's column. Gene, it's a victory weekend and a victory.
It is. We're going to have fun stuff to write about for a change. How about that? It's going to be great. I will have his 3-2-1. I'll have I'm going to be very curious to look at the Pro Football Focus grades, especially that defensive line, because they've been horrible. And I'm very curious to see how they grade, and the offensive line too. I bet they're going to get some good grades. I
would venture a guess, and I could be wrong, that Marvin Wilson grades over an 82. Let's see if he's in the mid 80s.
I'm going to take the over on that. Okay. If we're doing a prop bet on that, I'll take the over on 82, Tom.
And one selfish plug, that would be for the Cameron Show, the Jeff Cameron Show, Monday at 3 o'clock. It's a Victory Monday show. Guys, we don't get to do these very often. I've been having to do montages about losses, so we're looking forward to that. You can find that on ESPNTallahassee.com. Gene, what a night. What a night. Florida State beats the number 5 team in the country. I don't care if it's a soft number 5 team. That's what it says. That's what
in the record book, it counts.
Yeah, exactly right. So for Gene Williams, the founder and administrator of Warchant.com, we want to wish a happy evening to you. Thank you so much to everybody who maybe contributed to the cause tonight. Yes. We had a couple of big spenders, and to everybody who called. We thank you to Terry, who's been along for a 2-hour ride with us. He asked next week, can he drink for the show? Maybe that's the reward for working late into the night with us. But thank you.
We may have to. And I do want to thank you, Tom. You're doing a great job. Even though they call you the guy on the left, man, they're going to know your name before we're done this season. They're going to know your name, Tom Lang. You're the man. You did a great job tonight. And thank you, our new favorite caller, Benjamin from Colorado. Please call back, dude.
You better call back. You're on speed dial next week, and you better be enjoying.
You go to the top of the list.
Yeah,
absolutely. Terry, when Benjamin calls, move him up that call list.
Well, good night, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. It'll be around 4 or 5 o'clock next week on the Warchant.com post-game show. Good night, Gene.
Good night.